July is right around the corner, and that means baseball's greatest stars will gather in the most exciting city in the world. Baseball's Midsummer Classic returns to New York with home field advantage for the World Series on the line. It's the 2013 Major League Baseball All-Star Game, live from New York, July 16th, only on Fox. Welcome back to Watkins Glen. 2 hours and 41 minutes and change remaining here in the Sahlen 6 hours of the Glen. Here comes your race leader, the bright orange Corvette Daytona prototype, Stéphane Sarrazin of France at the controls.
And he just set the fastest lap of the race on that last lap of 42.5. And I think one thing that we're going to see here this year with Valiante and Sarrazin team together, there's going to be a lot of, you know, sort of competition involved. They're going to work well as teammates, but he knows that Valiante has laid down a 42.8, and I'm sure that was his marker jumping in the race car. I love to see it.
New car, man, they got all the things working for them right now. It's a great team they've got put together.
Now, before the break, we saw the Ferrari come in and Jeff Siegel get out after an absolutely long, arduous stint. Let's hear more from him now down in the pit lane. Brian.
Yeah, but he looks really well rested, Bob. He was in the car for a long time, but he looks good. It really makes me angry. A good run. The car seems to be quick, but it was dropping back at the end. I noticed a really long download with the laptop. What's up?
Yeah, I mean, we had such a great run going. The car was doing so well. The guys put a great setup on the car. We've just been working so hard to get this 61 car result. Everything was going great. And the last maybe 15 minutes there, we were chasing a sort of intermittent mechanical issue. I don't know what it is, but we sort of balance between having the pace and not. Anytime lap times come out, it's a little bit, or laptops come out, it's a little bit scary. But, you know, we're working on something. Hopefully we got the speed in the car good enough that we can stay on the lead lap and then maybe some sort of comeback at the end.
Looking to never give up here, guys. And we talked about Le Mans drivers. Well, Jeff Siegel was at Le Mans as well. He didn't run the 24-hour, but he ran Ferrari Challenge over there and ran it well.
He did. I think he was on the pole, had fastest lap of the race. Some sort of snafu in a pit stop, finished fourth, I think. Yep. Yeah, but well, that explains it, because you certainly wouldn't want to cause that delay under green flag racing to be doing a normal download. So they're trying to get a fix there. So Ian Willis and the boys going to work. Here we'll look at the North American Endurance Championship after the bonus points that are awarded at the 3-hour mark. The big mover here in DP is the Action Express team. They went from 8 points behind the Ganassi group, now within 2 points. And in GT, well, the Stevenson team, by leading, they were 8 points out of the lead. They're now in a tie, Bob.
And it all goes to Indianapolis 3 weeks from now.
What better place to decide it than that?
Well, let's keep in mind there will be points as well for the winners in class of this race less than 3 hours from now. There's the 61. They are now shown down in 11th in class. Mad Max Pappas at the wheel.
I'm not sure he was completely up to speed either.
Yeah, I'm not sure that car's right yet either.
This team's been on a roll. You know, they had the pit lane incident with Rob Nadell when he was leaving his pit box, and Mike Johnson and the crew took full responsibility for that. They just said we had someone different on the radio, didn't give Robin the heads up that Siegel was coming down the fast lane, and cost them dearly. But they're still really very much in the thick of this championship on the back of 3 consecutive victories and a very fast race car here.
Leaders in both classes you're looking at right there. That's the leader in GT. John Edwards right now. That car flawless. Winner last year here.
Now aboard the 69 with Anthony Lazzaro. Second in class. He's off throttle.
He's tentative through here for some reason. He was in the chicane too.
Yeah, something's going on, I think. I mean, you know, GT isn't going to plow through there like a DP, which has downforce, but that definitely seemed to be a little tentative on the throttle.
Yeah, definitely. You know, like he was just feeling it out.
Well, here comes the third place car, the 31 Whelen Corvette of Boris Said.
Lazzaro had speed on the last lap. He was only 6/10 off our leader's pace, so if it is something that's amiss, it's something that suddenly happened, but seems to be running okay now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Boris is closing in very quickly.
But just, you know, from the throttle trace, it sounded like he was, you know, he wasn't sure what was going to happen.
Well, we've seen guys adjusting their belt, fumbling around in the car for errant water bottles.
Anything.
It could be anything.
Yeah, it could. You're right. Crazy things happen with inside the race car during one of these 6 hours.
There's Guy Cosmo in the 4th place car in GT, followed by that man, Bill Arberlin, who's been in the 94 Turner Motorsports BMW M3 for quite some time now.
Top 8 cars in GT, all on the same fuel strategy. They all pitted 18, 19 laps ago. We've been doing about 27, 28 lap runs under green flag conditions here, so we've still got 10 laps left in the tank.
There's Richard Leitz, Le Mans champion in class. Running 6th right now in the Magnum team Porsche 911.
On laps in the high 52s. I believe the fastest GT lap set by Jeff Siegel at a 151.8, so the Porsche's about a second off the fastest Ferrari lap.
Here comes the race leader. Brian Till awaits him.
Stefan Sarrazin with a long run down pit road. The H-Star Motorsports team about halfway down the pits. Sarrazin will pull into his mark. There will not be a driver change, but he's better put some new Continental tires on, because a big lockup and a slide to his pit box. He stays in the car, gets a fresh drink bottle and 4 new Continental tires. Now, interestingly enough, this is a Coyote chassis as well. One of the other teams running that chassis is the number 90 Spirit of Daytona. They're electing to run a little more downforce in the back to try to save rear tires. And I look at the rear gurney on the number 3 here. It's pretty tall as well. So not only does it help with overall balance, but it helps with rear tire degradation.
Somebody blowing up.
Back underway.
Somebody blowing up right in front of the leaders here.
It's the 38 GX Porsche, I believe.
Wow. They got through.
Yep, the BGB car.
They got through it good, but boy, I was really concerned when I saw all that smoke all of a sudden. Didn't know who it was. I knew the leaders were coming.
Wow, how ironic. Jim Norman was talking about the fact that they should have the durability, and the Mazdas were struggling. We saw the 70s issues early on, and now the championship leader has problems.
That's cause for some alarm.
Yeah, well, that's what I caught. It's one of the things you get used to as a driver. You know, I saw those leaders coming up, and I knew something was going to look ahead. Look ahead. And you know there's probably oil up there when you drive in here.
And at this point in a 6-hour race, you just got to be careful. You just got to be really, really conservative there. Read the track conditions. Don't take any gamble.
That's for sure.
No living mosquitoes in that corner.
Barbosa and company, they don't have too many laps, I wouldn't think, before they'll be hitting pit lane.
Going back to that 3-car stop.
Here they come.
Yep,
Yeah,
here they come. You notice the choreography of the mechanics. Instead of carrying the air gun around with them, a mechanic would just loosen the tire, put the thing on the ground, run around to the other side. Someone would run up, grab the hammer, and mount the new wheel.
Yeah, they all have their different way of doing it, and they practice the best method.
And it's not so critical here as it is at Le Mans, because at Le Mans, this is being done after the fueling's taken place, so it's just a direct time loss. This is being done whilst the refueling is taking place. Now, a full fuel load of 18.5 gallons should take about 27, 28 seconds, but Brian's on the spot by the Spirit of Daytona team.
Well, Antonio Garcia climbs out, and Ricky Taylor climbing in this number 90. And when I look at the rear wicker on this car, it's actually considerably larger than the number 3. We've gone full course caution because of that loading. And it is busy in pit lane, guys.
Wow, 4th full course caution. We had 6 last year, so we're pretty much on schedule.
I'll tell you who this is probably going to hurt is Pruitt leads this race. But he's got 23 laps on the board, so he's only got about 7 more laps where he's going to need fuel. Pit lane will be closed. All these guys will be behind him at top of fuel. Yeah. So
10 might be able to get another lap back, though.
Yeah. Well,
let's go to Brian.
Well, the mechanics from R Ferry Motorsport with AIM going to work on the back of this Ferrari 458. They must have identified the problem after doing that data download, and they've gone to work in the engine bay. Not only is that going to be a difficult fix because of the tight quarters, it is red hot back there. Obviously, that big power plant in the back creating some significant heat on a very warm day here at Watkins Glen. So this is not only going to be a lengthy stop, but warm as well. They're looking at all the connections on different capacitors and such in the back, trying to find the problem. It seems like it must be electrical. The team going to work, seeing if they can identify some type of a loose connection or whatever to make this Ferrari get back up to speed.
Boy, it's a hard enough job when you know exactly what it is you're trying to go in there and do, but when you're looking for something and you're not sure what it is, that makes things a whole lot more difficult. There's Gustavo Yakiman. There's Ricky Taylor, who's just taken over the 90 car. We'll be back live to Watkins Glen. Welcome back to Watkins Glen and Speed's continuing live coverage of the Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen. We are under our 4th full course caution of the day, coming around to complete the 100th lap of the race thus far, just under 2.5 hours remaining. There you see race leader Scott Pruitt in the 01 car. John Edwards leads GT. And Tristan Nunez, the GX class. A week ago, we were privileged to be a part of the 90th running, or 90th anniversary, I should say, of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, marred, of course, by the tragedy, the fatal accident involving Alan Simonson. But also, we experienced the triumph for Tom Christensen, who was a friend of Alan Simonson, and for whom it was a very bittersweet weekend as he won his record-extending 9th overall victory at La Sarthe. Earlier this weekend, Calvin Fish, a good friend of Tom's, had the opportunity to talk with the champion for the first time since we saw him a week ago.
Okay, Tom, it's great to have you on the line, mate. Congratulations on a fantastic 9th win at Le Mans last weekend. First of all, let's talk about those challenging conditions. I mean, you, your teammates and the team had to endure what must be probably the most difficult race that you've really been through at Le Mans. How did you make it without making a single mistake for 24 hours?
When I got the news, I was in my room preparing myself for the evening. And it was quite, I would say it sounds quite cynical, but I sat down my dad and I sat down Alan Simonson for the table and we had a cup of coffee together. And it took a few minutes and then everything was clear. We had to go through this and try as hard as possible to win this one for Alan. He was you know, he was a fantastic driver and he was so young that he has done a fantastic career so far, having the lap record at Bathurst. I mean, but there's a lot of things. He was on pole position for Le Mans in the GT Pro-Am, and he was leading when he left us. So I think that all helped at getting the focus, and I think that was the whole energy, you could feel the whole paddock. You could feel all the spectators. There's quite a lot of Danes, which I'm proud of coming and supporting it. And it was sort of unspoken atmosphere. Come on, let's do this for Alan.
A lot of emotion at the end of the race. We saw a great moment with you and your son, Oliver. It had to be great to have him there when you got out of the car.
Yeah, I mean, it was very good. When I was young, I mean, things like that, when you deal with people who have to leave us, it was sort of a little bit unsaid. I think nowadays we deal with it a little bit different, and my son has been very much part of saying goodbye to my father. And 10 years ago, he was a small child at Bentley, and of course things go. Now he's taller than me. But it's always emotional at the end of, it's always emotional at the end of Le Mans. I mean, the mechanics, the engineers work so hard, the drivers. I mean, for Alan, he had a very tough 2 Le Mans where he's been blindingly fast, but the little bit of lady luck didn't help us. And of course, Lloyd coming in and under the speed he has and the pressure he's on to be winning his first Le Mans for him, it was always very emotional. But I mean, you give the emotion it just exploded in you when of different, you could say, different corners of the world in some ways. I mean, it just explodes when Le Mans finishes. It's just so hard for so long time.
Unfortunately, Tom, sometimes bad things have to happen in our sport to see changes in terms of safety. What do you think we can learn from the incident last weekend and move forward with the circuit at Le Mans?
I think it's very much important to be patient. They work very hard at this. This is, of course, when we have things like this or even bad accidents, we have to look at the things, but we have to be very careful not to overanalyze things. I mean, it was certainly not Alan's fault. He comes around like a blind corner quite fast, like everyone. But then in front of him, there's a car spinning, there's a car braking, there's a car avoiding. And of course, it's just he was caught out, man. And I feel so sorry for that. But we have to look at it very carefully and try to optimize. And I think everyone in the racing world is looking forward to hear the news from ACO and the FIA and how they deal with safety, so we can go on from here. Because Alan definitely loved Le Mans. He loved the race. He loved the challenge. It's just very sad that he's not among us anymore.
Certainly Le Mans now has an added significance with it being in a points-paying race in the World Endurance Championship, Tom. You now lead that championship. You expect a stern challenge from your teammates and certainly Toyota for the rest of the season. But next year is going to be really exciting. Porsche coming back. They've announced their 4 main drivers for the season. Mark Webber's coming from Formula One over to our side in endurance racing. Are you excited by that challenge?
Yes, I mean everyone is. I mean we are still in the middle of the season, but of course, looking forward, sports cars looks fantastic. I mean Porsche coming back to defend the most wins at Le Mans. I mean it's getting tight. Audi is for sure. We are closing in. Toyota at the end of the season last year, they were extremely fast on these, let's say, Formula One tailgate designed circuits with a lot of sort of slow corners. That's quite the opposite of what we have seen in terms of particularly Silverstone and at Le Mans. So a challenging season, but great news for sports car racing and the sports car world. Mark Webber, I mean, I said as a little bit jokingly that he's just a sports car driver we lend out to Formula One for some years.
Great stuff, mate. Well, I know you've been working hard on your golf game. I look forward to our next visit together. Good luck the rest of the season, buddy.
I'll work on it. Thank you.
Cheers.
Our thanks to Tom Christensen for taking the time to chat with Calvin. As you could tell, very close to his late father. Carl Eric passed away back in March, but for Tom, it was as though his father were there again with him at Le Mans, as he was for Tom's previous 8 victories. Certainly having a son, Oliver, there. I mean, what a time in Tom Christensen's life. Mid-40s now, he's accomplished more than he ever could have expected in his career. And yet he's as quick as he ever was, and now he is the senior member of a team that's bringing in great young talent. And he'll have to play a role in making them the Audi drivers that he was. A great man, Mr. Le Mans, Tom Christensen. Wish him the best, and we thank him once again. We'll take another break, and hopefully the green flag will wave when we return to Le Mans. Get ready for the one and only collector car auction that sets the bar. Barrett-Jackson, live from Reno, Nevada. The most amazing cars, all up for grabs, all in one place. Barrett-Jackson, Reno, begins August 8th, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, live, only here on Speed. Welcome back to Le Mans. Nah, I'm just messing with you. Of course, it's Watkins Glen, force of habit.
Wasn't that long ago, was it?
No, it wasn't. We've got heavy clouds on the horizon. We may yet see raindrops here today at Watkins Glen.
I'd say we will.
Saw the 99 and the 10 car leaving pit lane, Dorcia. The 99 is now 11 laps down, but for the 10 car, they've got it to within 2 laps of the lead. Remember, after that problem, they were 5 laps down, so they've made 3 of those 5 laps up. Some of it on speed, and Angelelli being very aggressive, but a lot of it is you get this wave by under caution, you just keep making up a lap essentially every time you get a caution. So a couple more, they're going to be back on that lead lap and could be a factor.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. It was so important for him to get that green flag lap back, as we see the be positive Audi in for a routine driver change, pit stop, tires.
Al Carter behind the wheel right now, jumping out. He had a strong run here yesterday, and there was some shenanigans in victory lane where he was spraying champagne, leaping around, and clipped Nick Longy, who's at home watching the race today, icing his knee. Basically blew Nick Longy's knee out. So
it was a heck of a race in the Continental Sports Car Challenge. You'll see it here on Speed next Sunday, July 7th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Check it out.
Motor racing is dangerous, but you don't expect to get hurt on the podium.
Victory lane's not supposed to be dangerous. To Justin Bell.
With the Esplanade just got into the car, and they had a lovely, very tidy stop. Or not so tidy, as he can't get it into gear to pull away from the line. It is not engaging first gear. I'm just looking through his helmet. His helmet sticker is in and out. As a sponsor, it's more out than in right now as he's trying to get going. This is not good. It is not engaging. I'm looking through the cockpit door. He's pulling the lever. It is not. I can hear the transmission working hard to engage. Best looking car in the pit lane, in my opinion, this year in this race, but definitely some problems for the number 46 Audi. I'll give you oh, he's got it in gear and then it's stalled. They're rolling it down the hill. And off he goes. Brian?
Well, one car that is having a great run is the number 3 down here at 8-Star Motorsports. Michael Valiente, super sub. Drives just about everything on a weekend, but in all seriousness, how difficult is it? You run a Continental race almost every weekend. I won't spoil the one from yesterday, but you run a Continental car one day, then a Rolex car the next. How difficult is it to make that change?
Well, first off, to say hi to my son Massimo. He always bugs me to say hi to him. So, hey, buddy, miss ya. It's really difficult, but I think honestly, it's made me a better driver. Just having to transition between cars, and I also like seeing the track a little bit beforehand. So you mentioned I'm the super sub. Hopefully, I can become a permanent fixture in the series. It's not my favorite nickname.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. That's the way we've thought of you, and we want to find a home for you. Maybe found a home here. How many more races are you going to do with 8-Star?
It's been great, you know. I was happy to get a great result in Mid-Ohio, and today the car has been great. We're leading, so I'm doing Indy, and beyond that, I'm not sure yet, but hopefully good performances can convince people to keep me around.
Well, best of luck. It'd be great to see Michael on a regular basis behind the wheel of one of these Daytona prototypes.
I don't know what's wrong with the car owners. I'm convinced.
Yeah. Actually, talking to the team this weekend, talking to Enzo, talking to Gary Neal, who's basically the team manager there. They're pretty much committed to keeping Michael on board for the season, which is great news for him and the series, because he's really a fast young talent.
Sebastian Bourdais actually is the race leader now in the number 2 Star Works car. Then the number 3 that Valiente climbed out of, and Stefan Sarrazin is driving.
2 old teammates at Peugeot, Bob, going head-to-head now at the front of this field.
Good point.
Oh, and look at the
Here
flag.
we go.
Tell you what, Sarrazin's going to have to learn these restarts a little bit. The Action Express boys keep leaping around
Now
him.
he's going to try the outside. Wow,
That'll
look
work.
at that.
That is cool. That is great racing.
Barbosa dodging around behind the 8-Star car, on board the 6, running in 6th. Gustavo Yakiman still driving.
I love this new restart rule, Dorsey, where green is go. You don't have to wait for the stripe and all the penalties you used to see that really used to mess up some races. But look at the 5 car. Has a lot of straightaway speed. Barbosa
Actually,
gets the position.
Yakiman is 7th. I think Pruitt's gotten by him in the 01.
Well, imagine that, the 01 and Yakiman running together. You'd have sunk it.
Oh, fingers crossed in the 01 pit.
I like Barbosa. That car is fast. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he's last 2 starts in a row, he's shown that potential just pounce on the field.
He is a rocket on restarts. Let's get more on the 5 with Brian.
Well, we were talking a little bit earlier about Joao Barbosa complaining of understeer. Well, on that last pit stop, they lowered the front air pressures by about ½ a pound, raised the rear air pressure by about ½ a pound. And I said, is that going to be all it takes? And they said, I don't know if that's all it takes, but that's all we're giving him right now. So that's the change he's got, one step at a time. Darren?
Yeah, I'm sitting here with Patrick Long. They've had a good car. Patrick, factory Porsche driver. What's going on? You guys have had a lot of issues with the yellows and the pit calls and the pace car.
Yeah, there's plenty of finger pointing going on down here. I haven't got the full story because I was just jumping in the car for Brian when the debacle went down. But long story short, we ended up sitting in the pits for 3 minutes, which is an eternity under green flag. And we just got one of those 2 laps back. But my guys are telling me Grandad Moses a couple of laps. I'll wait and see the video.
I'm sure they're going to be arguing for that one, guys. That's tough to sit here for that long.
And more tough luck further back to pit lane. You saw Charles Espinlov trying to get that 46, the Audi R8 from Fall Line Motorsports rolling. When he did get it rolling, he went too quickly exiting the pits, and he'll be brought back.
That's devastating.
The 42 machine, it's been fast here today, but they had some radio communication issues, which has cost them. It's dropped them down a lap, but they've actually got back on the lead lap. So Katie Crawford's done a great job there. I think they got the weave around along with the 10 car on that last yellow. So the 42 car is now back on the lead lap. They were a lap down just 10 minutes ago.
Speaking of the 10 car, oh, the Ferrari got really loose at the top of the hill, trying to get inside of the Whelen Corvette.
Yeah, Westphal there tried to pinch it a little bit on the 31 car.
That's dangerous to pinch off the top of that hill.
So much speed.
God, you're going so fast, you're getting top gear right about there.
Great listening to the different engine notes from these cars. The BMW, the Corvette, the Ferrari.
V8 BMW. those Porsches, probably the loudest car out there.
Barr said this isn't for position. So Barr will trying to want to ease his way through this Turner Motorsports. Number 93 has driven for the team many times over the years, so he doesn't want to trade any paint with them, but he's saying, come on, give me a break here. Actually, it's for position. I'm looking at Sholdak is running second.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, so excuse me, it's
Oh, trouble for
Five slow.
I think he's spun and coming up into left-hander.
He finds a gear and away he goes, but the 99 will go by. Still 11 laps down is the Red Dragon in the hands of John Fogerty now.
Wow, you don't see that very often. Barbosa made a mistake if he did it by himself.
Or for that matter, a spin right there on the entry of that left-hander. It had to be a braking issue. Unless he got helped. I didn't see anybody around him, but you don't see that spin.
Let's have another look.
Let's see what he
Second
does.
car
here.
in line.
Oh, yeah, he's going to get some help.
Yeah, that's...
Gets inside the 3. Was there contact?
There was a little bit on the tail end of that.
Yeah, you don't normally spin on the entry to that corner. It's usually a little bit further, unless you get help with someone.
Yeah, Sarrazin got on his inside there.
Up the long back straight they go.
Everything looks fine. Tires are all up. We're all good.
Seeing Watt on the radio just saying the telemetry looks good. Keep it going. Long way to go.
Dodged one there. That usually is a big wreck area. If you get turned in that area, almost always you get in that guardrail.
Keep digging, baby.
Ah, there you go. Shake and bake.
Joao was so competitive. That move he put on Gurney here last year for the lead was sensational. Just stuck it on the inside there down at the toe of the boot. Just a brilliant move to get the second win of the year for he and Darren.
There's the 9, Brian Frizzell still at the controls. Ricky Taylor in the 90, Pruitt in the 01. The light getting a little bit more diffuse. Shadows softening. That means heavy cloud cover approaching.
Yeah, we got mega weather all around us, mostly south of here, but it's definitely going to affect this race before it's over. I'm sure of it.
Saw Barbosa get turned around with his teammate. Last year was Darren Raw. Darren, you're down on pit lane. You know Joao very well. You know his personality. How will he react to something that just happened like this?
You know, Joao, he's a great guy, and he's a very calm guy. You're right. He and I have been teammates for years. And, you know, some guys out there, these things would rattle them. They'd freak out. They'd be just driving like a maniac. But Joao's very calm, very collected. I would have no worries that he'll just settle in, get back in the groove, and go at it.
That's cool.
Bourdais using all the curbs.
Such a talent, Bourdais. Came here last year, finished on the podium in the 6 hour, won at Indianapolis with Alex Popov. What a great victory that was, and that helped Peter Barron and Star Wars Clintz to the North American Endurance Championship as a team.
You know, watching that car work through the curbing, it didn't upset it, so I mean that's probably pretty quick getting through that inner loop. If you can use those curbs, you can't use the first one, but if you can use them on the 2 left-handers in the infield, boy, there's a lot of time to make there.
That 2 car is in a pretty good position in the championship right now, considering the first and second place cars in points by 1 and 2 to the 2 car respectively are now back in the field at least a couple of laps down, so the 2 car could wind up leading the championship at the end of the day.
And remember, they came into this race 2 points out of the championship lead, but they had a 5-point penalty dating back to Circuit of the Americas, where they found that their fuel nozzle was really not up to the current regulations, and the team said, we've been using the same one for years, but suddenly they got checked, got that penalty, otherwise they would have been the championship leaders coming in here anyway.
In the GX class, 2 Mazdas entered, 1 is out of the race, the other leads the class. John Doonan of Mazda is with Justin Bell.
So, John, we were just talking. If we go back to February at Daytona, you started the year with these 2 new cars in the hardest, longest race in North America. And now here we are at the Glen. You had a win a couple of weeks ago. I mean, the program, the technology, the activation, it's really starting to get somewhere, isn't it?
It is, Justin, and if you roll the clock back, it's been quite a journey. But anytime you focus on a development project like this with the new SkyActiv technology, the all-new Mazda 6, you're going to have milestones. And now we're on the eve of our 4th victory in a row. Really proud of the team. Couldn't be here without folks like Visit Florida, Castrol, ModSpace. They get us here, but the team and the guys do all the hard work.
I mean, Mazda throughout their involvement in racing has always been so pioneering with technology. I imagine everybody on board in the development team, the brand, the marketing, they all take pride in that, don't they? And it reflects in the way you come racing.
Everybody buys into it because it is truly our proving ground. We chose that 24-hour race. We choose 6-hour races like this because it's the ultimate test of the machine and all the technology. And all we can hope is that it proves that the cars will last, they're durable, not only here at the racetrack, but on the street, and everyone can put a new Mazda 6 on their shopping list.
There you are. He did, by the way, guys, that he didn't just plug that so I could get a free one. I mean, much as I tried to imply that.
And much as we don't believe you, Justin. There is Tristan Nunez, who picked up one of those victories in the 3 that Mazda has scored with this turbocharged Sky-Active diesel Mazda 6. We'll take a break. Rain looms, but will it arrive before the end? About quarter after the hour here at Watkins Glen International, but we're coming to the end of our 4th hour of 6 in the Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen. Calvin Fish and Darcy Schrader, I'm Bob Varsha. Justin Bell, Brian Till, and Darren Law are in the pit lane, and we're watching the battle deep in the GT class between Guy Cosmo, Günther Schaldak, Jeff Westphal, R.K. Kaufman. There's your GT leader in class, John Edwards, in the 57. He's been in the car for quite some time now.
I couldn't tell if those two Ferrari drivers were trying to help each other by bump drafting or if they were trying to wreck each other. It's hard to say. These guys I'm talking about, 63, 61.
Let's hear from the Stevenson Motorsports co-driver with John Edwards. Robin Liddell is with Darren Law.
Robin Liddell, you guys are having a great run. You're leading right now. There's only 2 hours left in this race, and you won it last year. What's it going to take to get it to the finish, and what do you think about the weather?
Well, it's still quite a long way to go, as you know, Darren. I mean, there's a lot of unknowns still. There's a weather front coming in. Obviously, that's going to throw the cat amongst the pigeons if it does rain hard, which it looks like it could do. Right now, we've got a very good car. We've managed to cycle our way back to the front from the beginning where we led during the first stint. Obviously, we had a good car here last year, and the guys do a great job. So we're confident, but I don't think we've got the ultimate pace to win in the dry. I think the Ferraris are looking a little bit stronger, and there are some other dark horses out there. The Corvette's been strong, and the BMW, I'm sure when Billy gets back in the 94 car, it's going to be strong. They ran us pretty hard for the win last year. So I think we're still a long way from a point where we can say we've got confidence to win the race. With 2 hours to go, it's almost a sprint distance. And, you know, with this weather coming through, there's going to be, I think you're going to see a lot of big changes potentially in this race before it ends.
Guys, we got to keep an eye on that weather. Everyone's hoping it holds off for the next 2 hours.
Yeah, you can see the dark clouds from that onboard. I'll tell you what, Lee Keane is doing a magic job here. He just set the fastest GT lap of this race at a 151.86, and he is chasing down John Edwards as Edwards and Liddell go for their 4th victory in the last 5 rounds of this championship.
I think Robin Liddell has a future as a television commentator. He pretty much summarized the whole GT situation very quickly there.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. He really is a smart guy. Great race car driver. Good partnership he and John have really formed here.
Yeah, they're a good group. Speed. Definitely work good together. I guess they like the same type of car. Mike Johnson does a great job on the bench, you know, calling strategy on this car. We talk about all the time how good this car is over on rough curbs and stuff. They use the curbs intentionally with that car. It doesn't upset it.
They've actually running the car an inch lower than last year, so they had to really work hard on getting that compliancy back. Obviously, when you run lower to the ground, you need to be a little bit stiffer. They seem to have worked that out.
It's Joel Miller in the 00 car. I mistakenly said Tristan Nunez earlier, but they are leading the GX class as they make a stop for more low-sulfur diesel.
I'm sure they will have been told about the demise of the sister car. Whatever broken, that would have been looked at by now, and whatever the problem was, I'm sure they'll be trying to drive around it as much as humanly possible.
Less than 2 hours to go. 33 cars started the race. Only 3 are out of the race officially right now. Miller is on his way.
Darren wants the rain to stay away for 2 hours because he's outside, but look at that cloud over the top there. And I'm looking at radar, and we're not going to be dry for long.
Yeah, Lee Keane's car is really hooked up really quick through the bus stop there, and then through the carousel as well. So Edwards just hanging in there. Smart young man. I mean, if Keane's got too much pace, he'll give the position up, I think, with 2 hours to go and just maybe follow him for a bit. Don't want to get too aggressive here.
Another setback for the 10 team. Jordan Taylor is being called to the pit lane for jumping the restart.
That's a shame. Drive-through penalty is what will result.
Speaking of driving through.
Yeah, this is playing through, though.
It's the 18, I believe.
That's a shame. I saw Jordan was being real aggressive on the start. I thought he made up some ground, but now
yes, he did.
He will sit there with the delta time and the re-entry time.
You are allowed to pass before the stripe, but it has to be green. I mean, green flag has to be displayed, and then there's radio communication to the teams, and the engineers are on the radio to their drivers saying green, 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 go. But it seems like Jordan may have got a little bit antsy and jumped on it too soon.
Sebastian Bourdais leads in the Star Works Ford Riley, number 2.
Shout out to Brian Frizell. The Frizell brothers having a brilliant run here. Had pace all day long, both of them. Brian running in the 2nd spot right now.
2.7 seconds behind is Brian Frizell in the 9 car. Then Ricky Taylor almost 5 seconds behind the leader in the 90.
Front of this DP field is really strong. There's a lot of really strong cars running really competitive lap times. This is going to be a doozy at the end.
An example of the speed differential between the top Daytona prototypes and even the very good GT cars. We'll take a break. Checking tires at ESM pits. There are your leaders in class. More to come from the Sahlen 6 hours of the Glen. Less than 2 hours remaining.
Dorsey Schrader stretches the lead, and Dorsey will come to the stripe. Dorsey Schrader the winner today in the Serengeti Eyewear Trans Am. Kendall made a move on Morris said to take 2nd spot as they came to the stripe.
But we ran awful hard. We bumped and banged and pushed. It was fun. That was truly a fun race. I got to tell you, all year long it's been great.
That's our Dorsey Schrader, bumping and banging. And speaking of which, word has just come from the stewards that the number 3 car will be penalized with a 60-second stop and resume for that contact with the Action Express number 5. Let's take another look at the incident. Climbing the hill.
Sticks it down to the inside.
Just a little nudge.
He was a long way alongside him there, and I think they're giving the boys a little bit more leeway since earlier in the year, but still he did turn him. And the good news is it's a long lap here. It's not good news you're getting a penalty, but it's a long lap here. He should stay on the lead lap, and then they needed some help with a yellow at some point between now and the checkered flag. So a car that has led a lot here today, suddenly getting a penalty, it's a big one.
Elliott Forbes Robinson once again is serving as an experienced driver assistant to the stewards here at Watkins Glen. Down to the pit lane.
Guys, I'm here with Peter Barron, owner of the Star Works team. You guys are having a great run right now. No problems, trouble-free. Sebastian Bourdais is in the car right now leading. Who's going to finish this off? And what are your concerns about this possible weather coming?
Well, if this thing goes all to plan, it will run to about an hour and a half. At that, we'll put Ryan in the car. You know, the car's been running like clockwork, no problems. You know, we have to outthink people a little bit differently. You know, the Corvettes are pretty strong on torque, and we're okay on top speed, so we're just having to change up our setups a bit. So I think over the race it will come to us. You know, hopefully we don't have a shootout at the end here, but you know, the nice thing is we did a 3-driver rotation, and you know, Alex did an incredible little over 2 hours to start. Bourdais in there now, so we're going to have an incredibly fresh driver with an hour and a half to go. We think that's going to pay some big dividends. Now we're just doing the gamble of the wait to see when the weather comes. If you know, it looks like there should be something, but how much? You're looking at the Continental race yesterday. You know, some guys went to slick, some guys stayed out on rain or went to rains, and hopefully we don't have a decision lost based on tire strategy.
Well, you guys, I can attest to having a fresh driver at the end is a big part of this, and as they're all saying, they're worried about this weather coming.
Yeah, and he's a good, strong, fresh driver. Ryan Dial, one of the best in the business, and I think what Peter's talking about, getting to the hour-and-a-half mark, that shouldn't enable them to do it on just one more stop. They're like 45-minute stint, so they've got a good plan, but the weather could totally throw that a curveball.
This is for the lead in GT. John Edwards in the 57 Camaro, Lee Keane in the 69 Ferrari.
And a great battle. DP splitting them.
Let's get down to Justin Bell standing by with driver Kelly Collins.
You know, so many fans and so many drivers have favorite people they've raced with and watched race. And Kelly, you were a GM factory driver for 10 years, and you got such a fan following in that. during that period. Seeing you back here in the pit lane at Watkins Glen after a couple of years out must be as good for you as it is for us.
It is actually fantastic. I'm here with True Speed Racing Cars, and we're here representing PMG Awareness, and we're having a really good time. This is like a big boys league for True Speed out of Southern California, and we're just trying to, you know, get our feet wet and build some reputation and get out there. Right now we have an underpowered car, but I'm doing some coaching on one side, and then I'm protéging on the other side with Bryce Miller, who's not the first Bryce Miller, but the second Bryce Miller. So we're here to it's like a big fun time and a good hurrah for the team, and so far we're doing good. We just want to stay out of trouble, and it's good to be back.
Well, Kelly, I know you can't wait to get in the car later. You're as fit and strong as ever. We look forward to seeing you back for the rest of the season, hopefully. Guys?
Wow, we just saw some action there in the SS Pierre Caffer in the 8 machine. Woo!
Watch the red car, too. Up. It's a big stack up. They try to go around the outside, and watch here. Oh, I mean, that's in the dirty part of the racetrack. Fogarty way out wide.
There's outside and there is way outside.
Wow, and you don't come back from that very often.
There's been some big crashes up there.
Woo.
Remember the Nissans and the GT.R.
I was in that race.
You're
right
in that
behind
one?
that, yeah.
Trying to work around this GT battle.
Oh, clear check.
Wow, they got into the leader in GT, I think.
John Pugh behind the wheel of the 60 machine.
I don't know if John's car just stepped out and it just smashed the 57. That was a pretty solid hit, too.
It looked like it.
Said that John Edwards may be willing to give up the lead to Lee Keen. I guess he doesn't want to do that.
Wow.
See if he slides here. Something went wrong. It's not. He got on the curb, bounced off the curb, I think, on the inside.
Edwards tapped the brakes, thinking he was going off into the Toolies, I think.
Yeah, he was trying to get helped out there. Yeah, that was nothing more than running up on the curb and bouncing off the curb.
Stopping plus 60.
Okay.
Yeah,
if we don't have a penalty, we're going to do a pit stop.
Painful.
He should stay on the lead lap, but not by much. 28 seconds is the delta come down pit lane, plus the 60 seconds, and they're running, 142. So he should have about a 10-15 second cushion over the leader of this race to stay on that lead lap.
You'll be wanting caution after that if you can get one.
Yeah, big time.
He's already lost 6 spots.
John Edwards is really good. I got to say this, at maintaining a lead. I don't think he's got the faster of those 2 cars right now, but he knows how to drive in a manner that makes it very hard to get around.
He's fast, but he's a good racer. He's really savvy beyond his years, but of course he has so much experience. He's racing over in Europe at the age of 15, based over there with the Red Bull driver program, and
here we go.
Rain on the road. I've been looking at the radar. It looks like Keen. It'll be intense, but it will not last for a long time, it appears.
Well, it's moving really fast, but we're not to the heavy part of it yet.
No.
That was for the lead there, boys. So Lee Keen takes that Ferrari to the front.
And here comes Sarrazin rejoining, having lost 6 positions.
And you know what happened right there with 57 is that he saw that slick flag, and he was the first one there, and he just said, I'm not going to go diving in here thinking it could be really slippery. Whereas Lee Keen in the Ferrari was willing to take that step to get the lead.
I think the 3 car did stay on that lead lap, but not by a bunch, so he can't afford any missteps at this stage if he wants to stay on that lead lap. There's the leader, Bourdais, going through the S's, and Sarrazin should be on that long straightaway towards the bus stop right now.
Well, we saw it yesterday, and we haven't talked about that because we don't need to. You'll see that later. But this racetrack at 3.4 miles long, it rains on one end of it quite often where it doesn't rain on the other. And you can get caught out so easily. I mean, that part that was raining, and you see the slick flag here as well, which means there's some rain there.
Look at Brian Frizzell in these conditions. He's closed in on Bourdais right now. So Action Express has 2 really fast race cars and 2 really strong driver pairings. Brian Frizzell doing a great job. Bourdais got to read this traffic, otherwise Brian's going to take advantage. Remember, it's the wettest part of the racetrack right now.
Oh, this is threading the needle stuff here.
Oh, boy.
And you're doing it in unknown conditions. It's starting to get wet on those areas back there.
Right, you don't know what's around the next corner.
Hot Cornell tires certainly help.
Come on, that's good.
Yeah, the hot tire, even though it's a slick, it still gets a lot of grip until it cools off, or until there's standing water that needs to be dissipated from underneath that tire.
So it's decision time. Watching the skies, watching the clock. Just under an hour and 44 minutes remaining in the Sahlen 6 hours of Watkins Glen. We'll take another break. Is Mother Nature about to intervene? Stand by for more from Watkins Glen International. How quickly can it rain here at Watkins Glen? Well, take a look at 2004 on the short course sprint race when a cloudburst made the final corner absolutely impassable.
Yeah, this is what happens when it rains on one corner of the racetrack and not anywhere else. This was a big one. Remember that, Cal?
Yeah, it's huge. And it's scary when you see drivers getting out of the race car and still guys plowing in there.
Drivers looking around as if to say, what just happened?
Yeah, you don't want to get out of a car. We've seen that now.
Yes.
Stay strapped in there.
0-1 pits. Looks like more slicks going on. Brian?
Oh, big gamble down here. It's barely raining in pit lane, and I can't tell about the toe of the boot. But the tires that are laid out, Continental Rain tires, they're going on right now. Ganassi trying to be proactive with this weather. Pruitt behind the wheel. If it does not rain, these rain tires will shred in just a little bit. And now a problem with the windshield wiper. The rubber blade has come off, so he's got rain tires, but no windshield wiper. They got to get it back on. It's going to take time.
Now we got to go
painful,
find one.
Painful.
They're sending him.
Sorry, I'm wrong about the tires.
He's got to go. It's not raining hard enough to need that windshield wiper right now. It's going to, I think. But up to what you said, Brian, it's dry everywhere but just down there, you know, by the toe of the boot and all that area, and it's not that wet there right now.
Well, the team has definitely been looking at their radar. Mike Cull, who's general manager at Ganassi Racing, said one cell now well past the glass factory in Corning. We'll see if it finds us. So they've been looking at the radar. That's what Mike Cull just tweeted.
Corning got dumped on. That's about a 20-minute drive from where we are.
And we're just picking up the outer band of that cell. The worst of that cell is at the tail end of it. So unfortunately, that part is pretty strong. And it's past Corning already for sure.
1 hour, 38 minutes remaining.
We talk about the things that Ganassi are going to do to try and get back into this championship hunt. They're testing a brand new engine, as we mentioned before, on Tuesday here. They may run at the next round of the championship, and you don't very often see them making that sort of gambling call.
There you see the manufacturer winners thus far this year. Note, no Ford blue ovals on that list. But right now, they lead.
Got a couple of hundred extra RPM 2 races ago, and they felt that it should help them out a little bit at the circuits where we have these long stretches of fast straightaway like we're on right now, but it has been hurting their fuel mileage a little bit as well, Dorsey, when you're running those RPMs.
Oh, and it's getting slippery in the brake zone. The 63 Ferrari right there doing a big wiggle. Yeah, I mean, that extra RPM, you burn more fuel, and then you got to make a pit stop that takes longer because you're putting more fuel in.
Keep in mind, the GT cars don't have the speed of the DPs, but they also don't have the downforce. For third place in the overall, Taylor and Barbosa.
Takes a position going into turn 1 cleanly in the rain. No standing water yet, Calvin, but you know, for Pruitt, if he minds his manners and doesn't burn those tires down, that pit stop will be a good one. But now he's got a wiper blade on to deal with too.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so ironic that these conditions are just like we saw at Le Mans last week, and Tom Christensen alluded to, where one part of the racetrack is dry, the other wet.
Expect the 9 in the pit lane.
They're 26 laps into this stint. The top 4 guys in the race right now, so they've been running 27, 28 lap runs, so pit lane anytime for these guys, certainly within the next 2 laps at least.
Despite the rain on the camera lenses, the grip level on track appears to be decent.
Yeah, those tires are good and warm and sticky right now, so there's no standing water. You can drive around for a while like that.
What will these guys do in terms of tire choice? I think it's still slicks, mate. I mean, what do you think?
I think you're right now. You know, what if the cell just kind of skirts by us and then you're out there on range like Scott Pruitt is, you'll be coming back for another stop.
As Brian Till pointed out. Back to Brian.
Well, here's the problem, guys. I'm looking at the clouds up above, and the problem is it's going to be raining down at the toe of the boot. But there's very little cloud cover above us as both the 5 and the 9 have come in. They're going to rain tires. Part of the racetrack is going to be moist. The other part is going to be really wet. Slicks might work in the areas that are just damp. They won't work in standing water, and it's not going to rain very long, probably. How big a gamble do you make? Well, everybody down here in Action Express is gambling on rain tires. Now the 9.
Slight delay there because the wheel gun from the left rear of the number 5 car was in their way. Savvy work there, though, by the crew to make sure they got that cleared.
Yeah, did you see that one crewman saw the gun and went after it? It wasn't his gun either. It was the other team's gun, and he was going to take care of it before his man ran over it, which would bring him back in for a penalty again.
Driver change on the 93, it appears. Turner Motorsports BMW. Now, do we have contact? Watch the 01 and the GT.
Ooh, if it was just a little bit.
Well, John kind of had to turn in because he's running out of real estate there, but
here's racetrack.
You may not have seen that low-lying DP as well.
That left-hander right there is the slipperiest corner in the rain on this racetrack.
I am surprised. I mean, you do it from a conservative standpoint, not falling off the racetrack, but a lot of this racetrack is really dry for wet tires.
It's too dry for wet tires. You know, I'm thinking that Scott Pruitt's going to be in trouble here pretty shortly.
We saw a lot of big wrecks here yesterday, remember, in similar conditions, but amazingly, a lot of the Continental tire cars yesterday were able to stay on the slick tires, which is really surprising in conditions just like this. But when the rain got a little bit heavier, suddenly it was a skating rink and they're flying off the racetrack.
Well, looking out the window of our announce booth, I can tell you it's raining pretty heavily along the start-finish straightaway now.
You know, the rain cell that we've been watching coming this way is dissipated to a great extent compared to what it looked like a half hour ago, but yet there's a still nasty side of it, and it's the backside that's coming still.
Bourdais just ran a 154 on his last lap in these conditions on slicks. Pruitt on wets ran a 157. Yeah. So he's 3 seconds a lap slower, but certainly going to be a lot safer in these damp parts of the racetrack.
Still, like you said before, though, Calvin, it's not damp enough to require a full rain at this point anywhere on the course, even the slippery parts.
Keep in mind, too, if that pit lane gets wet, you have the transition from the asphalt to the concrete. That can make it dicey getting into your pit box.
It's really hard to make the right call, and also when you're looking at the clock too, I mean, I think the reason they're keeping Bourdais out, they want to try and get to that 130 mark or right around there. That would enable them to go the rest of the distance on one more stop and split the distance in terms of fuel runs also. So there's a lot going on in the heads of these strategists and engineers right now on pit lane.
Sebastian Bourdais has been spending a lot of his career lately in open-wheel cars, and of course they don't race in the rain very often. How his rain skills are.
I think we'll know within 2 laps. Just based on the fact of what I'm looking at, it looks like we're about to get hit.
Yeah, well, Bourdais is really one of the best in the business in terms of road racing, so I think he and guys like Sarrazin will certainly excel in these conditions.
Now we talk about the rain being a great equalizer. That's for some drivers that are much better at it than others, but also the different type of car.
Just dirty. Copy that.
Problem is, if you use that wiper and you got oil and grease on there, it just spreads it. It doesn't really clean it. It just makes it worse. So if you can hold off on hitting that, I'd like to see better. You hit that wiper and suddenly, oh boy, that was a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, slippery racetrack's one thing, but visibility is much worse. If you cannot see out that front windscreen, you're truly in trouble.
You see these crews during the pit stops, of course, have those tear-offs. Just sort of like gives you a clear vision once again. So when you're sitting behind the wheel door, so you get that, it's like, boy, it's like a new day.
Thank you.
Now it's raining hard back here. This is at the inner loop.
Okay, this is danger time.
Yeah, now is where it gets real tricky.
Yep.
Copy, pit this lap. Rain tires.
Yep, that's a good call. It's going to get real wet right now.
He is surviving this inlet.
Exactly. We saw this
Look
before.
at him. He goes to the outside. He's looking for grip there. He's not out there because he can't turn the car. He's just looking for grip. There's sealer down in certain parts of this racetrack. There's the concrete patches, and it is just a skating rink.
Getting off that oil where all the race cars have been dropping it.
And sometimes a GT car, it's a little softer sprung door, so you'll have better mechanical grip in some of these low-speed corners in these conditions.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely true. No downforce at the reduced speed for these prototype cars. They have a wider tire in most cases.
Oh, he's running wide there.
Oh, look at the Porsche sliding forward. The 44 just slid right across his bow.
And that's Richard Leitz, remember.
Yeah, that gives you an idea. Now it's raining pretty hard. Everybody will be making pit stops.
This is where the boys are earning their money right now. Bourdais just got to hang on.
It's called. No, here we go.
99 is off. Those are your second.
And here goes the 63 add to it. That's turn 5.
You just can't go slow enough when it gets like this on slick tires. It just gets to a point where suddenly
full course
will not
caution.
respond. Problem for that is full caution. If the leader didn't get to pit lane, pits will be closed.
That's the toe of the boot.
That's a problem now. The 2 car cannot pit because pit lane will be closed, and he wants those slick tires off.
Yeah.
This is a nightmare.
Watch him. He might not know it. He's going to pit. The pit's going to be closed.
Going to try.
Oh, this is a terrible
This could
break.
kill
The
it
pit
for
lane
him.
is closed.
Tell him, tell him, tell him.
This is going to be an interesting one. 'Cause he's nearly out of fuel too.
4, 3, 2.
I didn't see a red light.
Okay, 2 cars in. Ryan Dial's going in. They're going to make a driver change. They're switching over to the Continental Rain tires. I don't know if pits were closed when he pulled in or not on that move. They're fueling up. Other than that, everything looks good. No changes to the car. Sometimes in these wet conditions, you want to add some downforce to the thing, but they're not adding any changes to that. Hopefully, I'm assuming they're hoping that the rain goes away and they can go back to the slick tires.
I'll tell you what, Darren. This is going to be interesting because we're full caution and the pits should be closed, but I didn't see any red light. There's a red light at pit entry.
I didn't see a red light, and I'm hearing that they haven't closed them for whatever reason.
Well, this is not by the book then, because when you go full caution, pit lane should be closed immediately. So
I wonder if the stewards exercised their discretion to keep them open and let people get that tire change.
Saw Ricky Taylor there stuck, not being able to get fired or in gear.
this is a curveball for sure.
He was a contender. Here he goes right here.
There goes Ricky.
He was looking to the inside of the ESM Ferrari and just went straight.
No damage, even though he hit the wall. There's the 99, comes in right behind him. Of course, this is what always happens.
And sometimes also when you see a car off, you lose your focus just that little bit, and that's enough to make the difference as well, Dorsey.
63, same exact scenario.
Jeff Westphal.
You know, if you turn that place right there, toe of the boot, if you turn in and it's real slippery like that, the car, as it starts to climb the hill, loses grip at the back.
42 goes around.
Now we're hearing that Ricky Taylor in the 90 is talking about he broke a gear trying to get out of there.
Wayne Nonemaker was in the 5th spot there in the 42 Sahlen's machine. They'd recovered nicely getting that car back on the lead lap. Okay, so maybe the stewards decided to keep the pit lane open for guys who needed those wet tires, but that is definitely not the normal procedure.
Now, if Ricky broke a gear, maybe it's reverse. It probably would be reverse. Reverse is a little extra gear that sits off the side. It's easy to break it, as a matter of fact. And he wouldn't need it anymore if it gets going, but the broken part of the gear itself is inside with the rest of the gears. And usually it will munch its way through the side of a case or take out other gears. That's not good.
Yep. One loose piece in a gearbox means you're going to have a lot of loose pieces.
Yes, it does. They've got magnets in the bottom of those gearboxes, and sometimes it can grab a hold of all that stuff and hold it down there, but that's just optimism.
We're waiting for official word from race control about how they handled this full course caution, our 5th of the day. Let's go to Darren Law with Sebastian Bourdais.
Sebastian Bourdais, you guys were leading when you came in, when the rain started. I know how it is out there on slicks with a wet track. Obviously, a good call to go to the rain tires.
Oh, there was no choice. I think it was the good call to wait, and then it was a good call to pit, because I wasn't going to make another lap around for sure. It started coming down really bad in the back straight, and there's a lot of sealer in the back straight over the chicane, so it was just ice. There's a Porsche that tried to pass me, went off, and just like, it was total chaos in that last lap. But the real nerve-wracking part was being on the slicks when it was just kind of a drizzle, because it was not consistent. It was moving around. And I just really hate these conditions because you never know what's going to get you. So it was good to come out on top, and you know, glad we're still in the lead. And you know, it's up to Ryan now to get the job done.
All right, Ryan's going to take this thing to the finish. Slick track, guys. That kind of reminds me of Le Mans and the race yesterday with Continental.
Once again, don't miss that Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge event from here at Watkins Glen next Sunday, July 7th, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We're under our 5th full course caution of the day. We had 6 last year. We're right on schedule. We'll be back to Watkins Glen. Welcome back live to Watkins Glen. 1 hour, 22 minutes and change remaining in the Sahlen 6 hours of the Glen. And we have a controversial condition. We're under our 5th full course caution. And by the rule book, When the caution comes out, the pits are closed. And yet, we saw the number 2 car, Sebastian Bourdais, pit his Star Works Ford Riley, make a driver change to wet weather rubber, fuel up, a full service pit stop basically, and then go on his way. Now, when we recheck the video, the green light was still on at the pit entrance. So which controls the fact that a full course yellow was called or the light at the end of the pit lane?
Well, by the rule book, once the caution comes out, the pit should be closed. But not here. I'll show you the light. The pit right there is the green light. Now watch as the number 2 car approaches that.
But
it should be red. He's on pit lane. It's still green. He's past the green.
The key is, though, Dorsey, we were full course yellow.
Yes, I understand.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's seeing a green light, so he's good to come in. But by the rule book, when you go yellow, the pit lane closes at the same time.
And we knew that.
So we'll await word from race control as to whether or not they exercise some kind of discretion to keep the pits open under the full course because of the rainy conditions.
And Brian, you've been monitoring the radios down there. I understand they lit up amongst the competitors when they saw the 2-car pit.
Well, they had lit up before that because when the rain started coming down and the full course caution came out, guys were saying, I need rain tires, and crews were saying, no, you can't pit. Pits are closed, pits are closed, pits are closed. That was both for DP teams to their drivers and GT teams to their drivers. In fact, teams are standing up and down pit wall with rain tires at the ready. Of course, the funny thing is there's bright sunshine on the racetrack right now, so the penalty for the 2, if there were one, may be self-penalizing because they've got rain tires and it's about to go dry. But yeah, it's just confusing down here, and a lot of people got caught out, and I don't know. I mean, it's going to depend on how they call it.
I don't think you can penalize the 2-car because there was a green light. Do you know what I mean? So there was a little bit of a snafu in terms of getting that red light on at pit in to indicate to the drivers that the pit lane was closed. But I don't think there's any way you could serve a penalty on the 2-car because when he came down there and looked around the corner, there's a green light which says you can come into the pits.
But like Brian says, if it doesn't rain anymore and the sun gets out and it dries out, he will have penalized himself by taking those rains. But I don't
remember a lot of the
that.
other guys that got wets as well.
Yeah,
the Action Express, the 01.
And
so
some
the
of
guys
the
right
GT
behind
cars
him.
came in too.
Yeah, so I think most of these leaders, I'm not sure on CAF or the 8-car, but certainly the 2, the 9, the 5, and the 01 have wet tires on also.
I mean, we dodged a big bullet with that rain, with that one cell, but that's not the only one out there, boys.
There could be more rain coming.
Plenty
and we're not trying to get out ahead of the officials on this. We're just stating the situation, what we anticipated would happen. Let's get down to the pit lane now. Darren Law is with Dane Cameron.
Dane, you guys are ready for? You've had a great run so far. This is your home race. Is the car running well? You've had a lot of adversity, and you guys are back in the hunt. And you're in the top 5 or 6.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do. It seems like the car's pretty good. It's definitely better the first couple of minutes of the race. A bit of beating and banging. I think the toe's a bit off, but now we're having a good time. The car was really strong at the beginning. Wayne's been doing a phenomenal job. He's really coming on strong. The car's really starting to make sense to him, so I'm really proud of him. We'll see what we can do. I don't know what it's going to be like in this weather.
Have you driven these in the wet much?
I got about 5 or 6 laps, so we'll be fine.
5 or 6 laps, okay. That's a bit of a challenge.
Sometimes that's enough.
I think Dane Cameron licks his chops when he sees a situation like this where you put a little bit more emphasis on the boys behind the wheel. He's a great young driver.
Well, it looks like we're already seeing a drying line out there on the racetrack as the teams bypass the inner loop. So that could be an all skate when we go green once again. A mixed wet-dry condition at the Glen.
When the sun shines, the shadows are long across the roadway. Blackboard signs in the pit area keep drivers informed of their progress. George Weaver still ahead gives an all's well signal to the official staff. And the little Effie still in there. Here they come up Old Corning Hill, and uphill struggle for the lead. Dave Weil is ahead in his number 19 MG. Black flag signals the driver to stop for a safety check on his car. Cars get bunched up coming downhill to the Old Stone Bridge. Every driver is trying to improve his position on this last lap, and 2 of them do. Time seems to be running short for Weil. And for every other car, pressing to the utmost on every curve. And here's the checkered flag and victory for Bill Walters.
And you know the best part about that old 6.6 mile public road circuit here at Watkins Glen? It's all out there, and you can drive it when you come visit the Finger Lakes.
That's what I told the cop last night.
That's right. You thought you were Phil Walters, huh?
Yeah.
Brock Yates wrote a book called Sunday Driver back in 1972, and much of it is set here in Watkins Glen. Once again, you can join the conversation. Hashtag GA on Speed. Let's go to Brian Till, standing by with StarWorks team owner Peter Barron.
Yeah, well, we're down in the pits with StarWorks where all the controversy has started for everybody else down pit lane. Peter, everybody look down here. The track went full course caution, but the red light wasn't on at pit in. You guys elected to pit the two. Worried that you might have a penalty for coming in when pits were closed?
No, it was pretty straightforward. We go by the red light. It doesn't matter what the full course yellow is. When they put it out, it's the pit's closed, the pit's fine. It was green. They didn't even put it on red until we were halfway down our pit stop. Nothing to worry about there, but we're just worried about the sun now. We're hoping the last pit stop's around 50 minutes to go in about 20 minutes, so we're hoping we can hang on with these tires till that pit window opens.
Racetrack still very wet, just like Peter said, but I know a lot of people in on the pits aren't going to agree with this call. We'll have to wait and see what the officials say.
Well, certainly going to be a bone of contention even after the checkered flag here tonight. But I think Peter's right. I mean, the pit lane was not closed, so they have the right to come in. But certainly by the rule book, when we go full course caution, pit lane should be closed at the same time.
Just past the top of the hour, I'm Bob Varsha with Calvin Fish and Dorsey Schrader. This is the Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen. Justin Bell, Darren Law, and Brian Till along the pit lane. Word from race control is the green light was on. The pit stops were good.
Well, that's the only thing they can do right now, I think.
The end of story, yeah.
Yep.
Move on.
Weather on the horizon. Let's give you a race recap.
Well, Angelelli had the pole position and had the lead, but suddenly on the first lap, gear shifter issues, plus 5 laps, making a fix.
This a blow up for the snow automobile. The Porsche Let's Go, and oil down the toe of the boot is a lot of these drivers are about to find out. Harmless spins, but not just one. Here comes another Porsche around, and a Daytona prototype driver doing a great evasive maneuver, gets up through there.
Look at this move by Ricky Taylor, Bob. Splitting the traffic here, diving to the inside of Alex Popov, who had a great opening stint. The 90 car to the front.
That was really the pass of the race thus far. More contact. John Fogerty getting inside of Alex Popov. Popov again, this time Christian Fittipaldi in the Action Express number 5.
And remember that hit on the last corner? Well, guess what? Alex Gurney behind the wheel, and something on the right front suspension breaks. As a result, off the road he goes. Put him behind the wall for a while.
They lost 11 laps before they got back to the action and made one of those laps back up. Watch this, Angelelli getting really aggressive, trying to get those laps back. This is on Christian Fittipaldi. Christian wasn't happy.
And listen to this blow up. That's what it sounds like to lose a lot of money.
On a restart. Watch João Barbosa, who was on the button. Sarazan takes him to the pit wall, but he pushed his way by.
Timed that perfectly. No error, no foul.
To the lead for the defending champion.
Another blown engine here had me all up in arms as the leaders drive into the smoke.
38 machine. That's our championship leader in the GX class.
In fact, right now, 2 of the 3 cars in the GX class are hors de combat.
This little skirmish caused a stop and hold for 60 for the 3 car.
Managed to keep that car on the lead lap, and then we saw a great battle here between Lee Keane and John Edwards, who was leading. We see the raindrops on the camera lens. Lee Keane says, no problem, I got the grip, I'm going to the front.
That was a sign of things to come. Heavy rain now, and off goes Ricky Taylor in the 90 into the tire wall. He complained of a mechanical breakage as a result of his efforts to get that car off the wet grass. John Fogerty off in the Red Dragon. He was able to resume. And now here we are, bright sunshine on the pit lane. Brian Till.
Plenty of cars coming back to get rid of those green tires and go to slicks, which is the right call. That's the thing that is so frustrating about this weather. It is blown through, and now bright sunshine in a very dry pit lane.
But very much like last week's Le Mans, guess what? behind that little front that went through, there comes another.
Yeah, and Peter Barron's playing a different strategy. He said we want to get to 50 minutes to go, which is another 18 minutes on the board before we do our final pit stop. So they're still out there leading this race, but on wet tires. Most of the other leaders have switched to slicks.
12 lead changes among 8 cars thus far in the Sahlen 6 hours of the Glen. Oh, and I mentioned books about Watkins Glen earlier. Check out the work of Bert Levy. You'll see a racetrack that you recognize. You know, one of the great things about Watkins Glen International, as quick as it gets wet, it dries in the sunshine. Here's a look at the Rolex Series points in Daytona Prototype as the cars currently stand. Ryan Dial and Alex Popov to the lead over Taylor and Angelelli, with the 99 crew of Gurney and Fogarty 17 points out. Remember, we had 1 point, well, 2 points covering the top 3 teams coming in. In GT, the 44 boys remain out front by 8 points over Alessandro Balzan, who led earlier in the year, and then Liddell and Edwards in the Stevenson Camaro.
However, since we're about to go green, this means nothing.
We will scramble it. Yeah.
All right, Calvin.
Worth noting, however, Dorsey, the 10 car is now only 1 lap off the lead. So they've made another one of those 5 laps up now. Just need 1 more yellow after this one, and they're going to be back on the lead lap.
Even with that stop and hold for 60, I mean, they are working their way forward.
Now, with the drying track and a mix of slicks and wets out there, what are we about to see? Scott Pruitt definitely still on the wets, I believe. He is in 3rd place. Oh, has he changed over to slicks?
Pretty sure he's on slicks,
okay.
Bob. Dial is certainly on wets. Most of the other runners made a pit stop just 3 laps ago. Most of them went to slicks, but I think Darren mentioned that the 60 may have stayed on wets. So there's a mix, that's for certain. It's really going to spice things up here.
If any of you guys have hard data down in the pits, we'd appreciate it.
Hey guys, both of the Shank cars, the 3 car, everybody went to slicks.
That's the right thing for right now. I mean, I'd say we're about 20 minutes before any more rain, 15, 20 before that next band might come or might not get us.
Yeah, the 60 car did another stopper. They came in, stayed on wets, and now they've come back in again and put the slicks on, as Darren is now giving us that information, looking at the scoring. Just 1 lap ago.
Completely dry up there now.
Yeah. This racetrack does dry pretty quickly, no doubt about it. It's plenty warm enough to dry it off.
And the number that Peter Barron is looking at is the clock. He needs to get his car to the 50-minute mark, and he should be able to do it with just that final stop in terms of fuel. But on this dry part of the racetrack, it's almost going to be like being on slicks in the wet, Dorsey, in terms of how much grip level Dial's going to have compared to his other competitors.
So cars committing to the pit lane as the leaders come off the corner. The safety car is in. Dial, Fittipaldi, Pruitt, Wayne Nonemaker, Brendan Hartley, the top 5.
Well, there's a big unknown right now, Calvin. What kind of grip are you going to have down here?
Well, Fittipaldi's going to have way more grip in this part of the racetrack than Ryan Dial on those slick Continental tires. But when we get up to the inner loop, and Dial's not going to give it to him easy. He fights back and going to be side by side through the S's here.
Oh boy.
That lead battle is really tight there at the front of this pack.
Now, when they get down to the inner loop, that is still sopping wet. While the car circulated behind the safety car, they went straight on. Right here, it is wet.
Right here is where that 2 machine should have a bit more grip.
And you see it
Fittipaldi who leads, yeah.
They're tippy-toeing.
But the slicks are good. Look at that. That's the wet part of the racetrack, and Fittipaldi's stretching it. So Dial's just got to hang on here for probably about 5 more laps if he can.
Yeah, that's where the river runs across. I call it a river. But it's a downhill run. So it's going to stay wet for a while right there.
Westbrook trying the outside of the 10 car.
Oh, easy up ahead.
These guys on the same lap, the 10 car and the 90 now, 1 lap down to the leaders.
Problem with going it side by side like that, picking a lane, if somebody makes a mistake, you're in with them.
Westy's going to be going for it. He's got nothing to lose. He's got to go for it. Just over an hour on the board. He's a lap down. He's got to somehow get to the front of this pack, get back on that lead lap and catch a yellow.
Angelelli did it. He can do it too. Westy's plenty man enough to get up there. Speaking of the 10, here it comes. Only 1 lap down.
Look at this. Dial is just like a mobile chicane right now. He's just parking these guys. Look, Fittipaldi's gone.
Further back, the 8 in the hands of Brendan Hartley, also getting swamped.
There are some really fast race cars in this mix. Look at that. Valiente's there in that bright orange number 3. He's on slicks.
90 and the 10 have the most to gain, though. They can get a lap back if they can outrun these guys.
Westy's really good in these sort of slippery conditions as well.
And Christian Fittipaldi
Look at this
is
mess.
checking out.
Look at this.
Here comes Westy.
Trying the inside.
He's got to watch it though. Watch that Valiente don't turn in on him. He's clear. DL is struggling right now. You start getting in those high-loaded areas, that where the tire just squirms around on the tread blocks, Dorsey.
Good point. There's so many high-load areas on this racetrack.
So tap the brakes.
Here comes 10. Watch Max Angelelli up the inside. He had a good run going. Ducks back in. Oh, my gosh.
Look at Westbrook. Look how aggressive Westbrook is being, trying to get back onto this lead lap. Pushes, shoves his way through Valiente.
Actually, that was well done. They were 2x2 going in, single file coming out.
That was very well done. That doesn't work very often.
It's wet out here.
He's looking for water, I think, on the outside.
Justin Wilson.
Max Angelelli tried really hard to get up with Richard Westbrook, but he got cut off by the two.
We're telling the two to stay out for one more lap, but that's not going to hit that 50-minute mark in terms of where their fuel window will take them to. So it looks like this gamble may have backfired a little bit on Peter Barron. So tough to make the right call.
You know it's a handful right now, though, Calvin, for him to be dropping like that.
Yeah, Starworks cars running together. Hardly moves past Dial.
God, it feels like you got 4 flat tires when you're out there like that. Car all squirming around every which way. Can't stay in your lane.
Yeah, I just don't think he can hang on much longer before he has to get slicks on this thing. All he can hope for is if he does make that pit stop, that they catch a caution, and that will get him to the finish without needing to hit pit lane again. So they need a break now. One caution will do it. If he pits now and gets one caution, he'll have enough fuel to go the distance.
We've got cars coming to pit lane. I think the 2 is coming.
Oh, yeah.
There he is.
To, Bob. Those tires will be toast. Brian's there.
They blistered him.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him come off the car here.
Excuse me, Brian. The 10's gone around in turn 1. You can take it back.
They're coming off. I don't see any blisters on them just yet, but they are probably so hot. You talk about the tread squirming around. Those tread blocks move back and forth like a pencil eraser. And now he stalls it on the way out. Gets fired up and underway.
Remember how lengthy these yellows are. So if he gets one yellow, that should gain him maybe 10 minutes of fuel and get him in the window. So they need a help. They need a break.
Stick of tires. They were just sitting in the sun.
So they're as warm as we can make them.
Watch this. This is a replay of the pass by the 10 car down the inside of Valiente.
Oh. Got up on the curb and bumped in the turn to 10.
Angelelli and Valiente were teammates a few years ago. Not much love lost between those two.
Evidently.
Max was being really aggressive, trying to get toward a position where trying to get his lap back.
To Darren.
Guys, I'm in the pit lane here with the Whalen Corvette. Unfortunately for them, they stayed out on wet tires. The car was just, they couldn't hang on to it. They had to come in and they just put a brand new set of Continental slicks, but that really cost them. I think they were running 6th at that point.
Got no choice, Calvin. The sooner you do it, the better you are, because you might catch that caution you're talking about.
I think Wilson, the 6 car, has got to be on wets too, boys, because
I think he is.
203s compared to
Comes 93 in.
the leaders.
GT leader is in. Pedro Lamy in the 93.
Been a great day for the Turner boys, both the 93 and the 94 been up the sharp end of the field all day long. Gunter Schaldag, Michael Marcel sharing the car with Pedro Lamy.
What that's about?
Yeah, I didn't see any crew guys over the wall.
Nobody's done anything. It's almost like a stop and hold. There's nobody in front of the
no
car.
official.
Yeah. So it's a penalty of some sort, but
no official down there. But
there's nobody to time it out. It's not a stop or a drive-through.
Oh, there he is. No, there is. Now you see him there.
Told it was an improper wave by.
So.
Well, while the 93 sits there, let's go to Brian.
Well, here are the tires that came off of the number 2. You look down here and you see the big tread sipes to move all that, but these are the rubber blocks, and you can see how they move so easily, and you can see the rubber that's peeling off of them. So They were super hot when they came in. I wouldn't be even able to touch them. But you can see I can leave my fingerprint in these almost. That's how soft they are. That's why they had to come off of these the car out there in these dry conditions. These Continental tires, great when there's plenty of water to be moved out of the way. But when the track dries out, absolutely diabolical.
They're not as bad as I thought they'd look, Dorsey. I thought they'd be
blistered on the inside edges. They almost always do. It would have actually in another lap or so, like Brian said, when you move them around like that, they get a lot of heat.
Talk about momentum, Bob. This is a team that's coming off a second place run and a win at the last round of the championship, and right now they lead. Long way to go, but certainly looking strong here today.
And here's your defending series co-champion, Scott Pruitt with Ganassi, who so desperately need a step up in performance, or at least in terms of results.
Oz Negri up into third.
This is great stuff. It's so cool to see Oz back. I mean, he really was worried. I mean, you know, to suffer an injury like that, he didn't know he was going to be when he got back to the race car. To see him on form was really a pleasure to see.
I got advice. Stay off mountain bikes. Everybody I know that ever got on one,
skiing and mountain bikes. If you're a race car driver, wait until you're retired.
If you don't see me do it, don't do it.
So when you get a chance,
in fact, if you see me do it,
people shouldn't.
It's pretty wide latitude there.
Yeah,
really. I know. Wasn't a lot of constraint. See how the water runs off the banking there in turn 5? You got to watch that. That's where that puddle came from. As you go down that hill, of course, the water runs down through there, and you go through that puddle every time.
Leaders right now are running 145s, 146, and fastest lap of the race today is a 142, so they're about 3 or 4 seconds off the fastest lap of the day.
Let's go down to Brian with Richard Leitz.
Richard Leitz co-drove the 44 back at the Rolex 24. Congratulations on another Le Mans win just last week. Difficult conditions here this weekend. But more importantly than that, how difficult is it to go from one type of Porsche at Le Mans last week and a different type of tire to this week on a racetrack that you don't know all that well?
Well, it's quite difficult, but I have to say that Watkins Glen is really European from styling and from the way the racetrack is. So it's like Spa or the Nordschleife, and I really get used really quickly, and I really enjoy being here with Magnus. And also the weather condition was similar to Le Mans, so it was like, you know, in Le Mans I jumped out with slick tires in the wet, and here was the same. So it kind of matched quite good together, and I really enjoyed my first laps here in Watkins Glen. And at the moment, it looks like quite good. We can fight for a podium, and Andy, I think, he will fight for it. So I'm quite optimistic at the moment.
What's more difficult, the rain conditions that you drove in at Le Mans, or just all the travel back and forth here recently?
It's both difficult, but I mean, it's when you are with these slick tires in the wet, it's like 40 miles an hour, and you start to swim, and you can't do anything if you swim because you are underwater. So you're just passenger. So it's really difficult. And also, of course, I was one night at home, so a little bit of jet lag is also here. But I'm now since 2007. I am factory driver, so I'm doing this since 2007, flying to America, to Europe. So you get used to it a little bit, but it's still difficult.
I want his frequent flyer miles, guys. I think I could get an upgrade on my next flight.
Now, you know, I said that all the drivers love this racetrack. The Europeans really like this type. It's a proper racetrack. Let's just put it that way. And that's why we have so much heritage in a racetrack like this. If they were all this way, you know, and you're a group of good racetracks in the United States, this being right there at the top.
Well, when Richard Leitz compares it to Spa-Francorchamps or the Nürburgring Nordschleife, that is high praise indeed. With a history to match. Another break coming up. There goes the number 60. Oswaldo Negri is third behind Christian Fittipaldi and Scott Pruitt. Bright sunshine now. What surprises remain in the 52 minutes we have to go? Back at suddenly sunny Watkins Glen and the Sahlen 6 hours of the Glen. Now the Sahlen's 48 minutes of the Glen. And it appears we are likely to be clear as far as the weather is concerned. And it's just a matter of running these cars out at top speed.
The leader in GT, Robin Liddell, right there is second place. Andy Lally in a Porsche.
And Lee Keen's all over him. He's right there.
Yeah, Lee Keen, Yep.
He's been fast.
That's a good match right there, those two.
He has the fastest lap of the race, still at 151.8 for the GT machines. A little bit of ebb and flow, and these DPs do split the GT pack. It can lose you a few car lengths, as we saw right there. Nothing you can do about it. Hopefully you just get that paid back somewhere else in the course of the race.
If any luck, will stay dry the rest of the race. I mean, it's going to rain right at the end or shortly thereafter. little wide. No, he gets it tucked in.
Talk about the FXDD car. They're only 14 points out, their regular drivers, Lazaro and Asentado, from the championship lead of Lally and Potter. So they're very much in the mix of the big picture of the championship season.
And very motivated to get by that 44 car.
Boy, he's making ground on him, too.
Pretty funny early. We spoke to Andy, of course, about the adjustments on the Porsche, lower ride height, they can run a gallon more fuel, no restrict. We said, yeah, but we wanted less weight.
Yeah. We got 2 Porsche drivers, but only one's driving a Porsche this week.
That's right.
Lee Keen in that Ferrari.
He'll know the strengths and weaknesses of that Porsche for sure. He's done so many years behind the wheel of one.
It's like the kid on Christmas Day surrounded by open presents saying, what, no pony? Yeah. Let's go to Brian Till with Bill Auberlen.
Billy Johnson now in the 94. He'll bring it to the checkered flag. But, Bill, we were just talking about, first of all, the balance of the car. It hadn't been exactly what you guys wanted today. Has it gotten better as the day's gone on?
Yeah, I think we worked on it. First of all, with tire pressure, sway bar adjustments, all this kind of stuff that we can do. And the track's rubbering in. And as they're rubbering in, it really started to favor our car. So now we're not so far away. But the competition is so quick here, and Billy's out there, and he's going to redeem himself from yesterday's race. He's going to try to keep all 4 wheels on the ground this time. He's doing a great job. He's running them down slowly. When he gets there, I don't know what he's got, but hopefully something.
You guys got enough fuel?
Are we good on fuel? Is that what your question was? Well, we got some in the tank. I don't know. It's still going. I'm pretty sure for everybody, if it goes green the whole way, everybody's gonna have to stop. It's a matter of who's gonna flinch first and pull the fuel out, the fuel rig first, to see who gets out quick.
May still have one act of the play yet to go, guys.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there in terms of it stays green. Everyone's going to need to hit pit lane, and then you're going to do a timed fill. And that's where it gets really hairy in terms of getting those calculations spot on. How aggressive do you get in terms of knowing you got enough to get to the finish, or saving a precious second or two on pit lane?
You want to run it to the very last drop if you can. Hope for something to happen along that way. This is a great battle.
Billy Auberlen also gave you a good reason still to watch the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge race. The Continental Tire 150 from Watkins Glen next Sunday, the 7th at 4 p.m.
Saw the 44 car there really stretch it out in that last little bit of the straightaway. That could be that restrictor over the Ferrari.
Yeah, that's one of the big advantages they had, was taking the restrictor out. It doesn't have a restrictor now. It's running like stock.
Big question's going to be in terms of the guys who need some fuel to get to the finish. Typically, you'll see guys back time the race. So as soon as your pit lane's open, pit window opens, your pit, say, like with 45 minutes to go, which is the window we're in right now. So if it goes yellow, you've already made that pit stop, and that's the call that the 3-team are making. Darren Law's there.
You know, one of the keys to this racing is being the first guy to make the last stop. That's what these guys are doing. This is their last stop. They're going to leave Valiente in the car. They're not even going to change tires. They're going to run it to the finish. So they feel pretty confident they've got it. And like you guys said, yellow, it doesn't matter what happens. They're good to go to the end.
The nice thing there, Darren, is you're not really doing a time fill. You've topped him up. You know that's your fuel window. There can be no mistake there as long as they got all the fuel in the tank. So he's going to be good to go. The rest of the guys are going to have to see what sort of strategy you play. One yellow may get some of these teams into their window. They can do it without the need for a stop. So do you run the tank out? There's potential weather still out there. Lots of different calls.
The longer you stay out, the more that variable becomes a possible reality.
It's your race leader, Christian Fittipaldi, in the 5. The 90 is a lap down. Here comes the 01, second place car, 4.1 seconds behind last time by.
It's amazing they've got that car up as far as they have, actually.
Yeah, it's been a great day for those guys, and they made that call. They were the first to throw those wets on. We're all looking at each other like, what are they doing? But it worked out well.
Yep.
I think it was maybe a lap or two, maybe ideally too early in terms of looking at the lap times. Everyone's got 5 cars in, so
yep.
This is what you normally do. So they're not factoring the weather or anything. The GT leader is in as well, Brian.
57 is in. It's going to be fuel only, and then Christian Fittipaldi will bring the number 5 in. That is the leader. They've got tires set out for the number 5. It'll be interesting to see if they take it. I don't think they are. They didn't come over the wall. It's going to be fuel only. Fittipaldi is going to be on these Continental tires. They don't have very many laps on them. Fuel only, and Christian Fittipaldi will head back out. Can they make it 2 wins in a row?
Yeah. Oh, there's a problem there on the 01.
Yeah, there was something left in.
He split the fuel nose there.
That's a penalty. It's going to be a stop and hold for 30 if they saw it.
The dominoes are falling, I think, by the 3-car pitting and getting that pit stop done, it forces the hand of the other teams in terms of if there was a yellow that the pit lane would be closed. There was definitely a problem there.
He saw the fueler carrying the end of the hose. He tosses it with disdain over the wall. There's fuel in the pit lane.
They didn't miss that. That, by rules, is a stop and go plus a 30-second hold.
Wow, just when they were in position to get a podium, at least maybe a win. Little mistake in communication there.
Lucky here we didn't have a flash
Watch
fire.
the tap on the shoulder. Watch they send him before the tap.
Yep.
The refueler hadn't had the tap when they're already pushing him.
And a lot of fuel spilled there. Like I say, very lucky we didn't
I think the crew who were pushing the car responded to the radio call before the tapper, the guy with the stick, did.
Tap the fueler, yeah.
And so the refueler's just going to stay in until he feels that on his shoulder.
A very un-Ganassi-like misfire.
And lucky for the fueler, he let go of that dry brake, because we've seen guys get drugged down the pit lane, hooked to the car.
All those crew members are on radio communication with the pit box, and they would have said, go, go, go. And they decided to push. Pruitt probably felt the push in the car and said, okay, I'm good to go. Yet the refueler hadn't got the tap on the shoulder with the stick.
So he was doing his job like told. Be a costly penalty this late in the race, though.
And again,
Brendan Hartley. Sorry, Cal.
The pressure was on, certainly the 01. They were looking at the Action Express team doing a similar type of strategy, so I'm sure they were looking at those guys trying to leapfrog them in the pits. Will Hartley roll the dice? He's had the lead, he's had fast cars this year. Will they roll the dice and keep him out there hoping for a yellow?
Stop and go plus 30 seconds for the 01.
Yeah.
So that'll be almost a solid minute off the racetrack.
That's standard operating procedure. Anytime you hit something on pit lane, if you leave with stuff hooked to the car still, it's a standard penalty, and it's a safety issue. It needs to be that needs to be that way.
They need a break because they're going to need to serve that penalty immediately. Still 40 minutes on the board. He should stay on the lead lap just. Timmy makes the call. Timmy Keane, team manager for Ganassi, makes the call to Scott Pruitt. Stop and hold for 30.
Well, they get away lucky with one, really. I mean, it's a safety hazard, and you saw how much fuel dumped out of that. If it had gone off with all those pit guys around the car, it would have been not good.
Ricky Taylor looks exhausted.
Well, I think he's just disappointed, Bob. I mean, he got caught out in those conditions, as did many, but that's the sort of season they're having. We spoke about it. They just got one podium finishes.
Push hard, one more lap.
All that fuel still being worked on in the Ganassi pit.
Yeah, you don't want to drive the tires through that fuel, so they're probably going to allow him to stop somewhere else on pit lane to serve that penalty so he doesn't sit there with those Continental tires sitting in their fuel.
They'll go down to the open area where the cut is in the wall, where there isn't a pit stall. They're not going to hurt anybody by doing that, but they don't want to go through that gasoline, and on top of that, they got all their crew guys up there trying to drive that up as quickly as possible.
It's a battle for the lead right now, Dorsey. We had the 57 pit and make their strategy call and topping up with fuel. Lally leads from Lee Keane still.
Not by much.
Less than 39 minutes to go now as the 63 re-enters. Battle for the lead. Lally versus Keane. The 01 makes its stop.
That is torturous to sit there like that at this stage of the game, having really played a nice call throughout 5.5 hours almost.
This is interesting to watch these two guys. They're both good friends. They're both Porsche drivers. You know, they know one another. They know the car. But now this time, Lee Keane's in a Ferrari, so he's got the benefit of the doubt.
Look who's coming. Billy Johnson. He's one of the quickest guys in the paddock.
What did Bill Auberland say? A chance to redeem himself for his Continental tires?
Well, I don't know if that was his fault yesterday.
No, it definitely
there
wasn't.
Was a downpour, and we had cars
but
skating
it was
all over
spectacular.
them.
Yep,
it was that.
So, 1, 2, 3.
Copy. Next lap. Next lap.
More pit stops coming.
I think that was the 44.
Yeah, Lally was screaming, what am I doing?
They're going to make him run one more time, and he'll be in. Let's see if a Ferrari goes with him.
Yeah, Lally likes to know what's going on. He's one of those guys on the radio who likes to have a constant dialogue going on.
With that restrictor pulled out, you know, it's using more fuel. It got some more fuel too, though, so it might be a longer pit stop as a result of that added fuel consumption. I mean,
absolutely.
Fuel fill.
Spoke to Ian Willis from the AIM Autosport Group this week, and he talked about the Porsche adjustments. He said, yeah, I sent him a letter of congratulations last Friday on the win this weekend. I thought it was pretty funny.
Well, the Ferrari might have a faster stop if it stops at the same time due to that fuel.
Johnson's coming.
Yeah, I was going to say, Billy Johnson's the guy with the key ticket right now, I think. And those Turner BMWs have been fast all through this race.
Porsche, Ferrari, and BMW. 3 different marks in the top 3 positions.
And Camaro in 4th, too, to add to that mix. Remember, Liddell has made a pit stop, so he should be pretty good. When everyone else cycles through, expect to see that 57 very much in the mix.
Here comes the overall race leader to overtake.
Good place to do it. Just run up the inside of the straightaway if he's smart.
What will they do with the 8 car? We've seen so many of the other DPs make their potentially final pit stop of the race. They're keeping Brendan Hartley out there. Really quick young driver. Very likable too, has a great personality. Had an opportunity with Red Bull, as you know, Bob. Got some Formula 1 testing in. He does some sim work for Mercedes GP as well.
Yep, he was a reserve driver for Red Bull for some time.
You and him share the same hairdresser, right?
Used to.
Okay.
Maybe he can make me a wig.
There they come, both of them. Yep.
Now we can see.
Now we'll see.
Whatever they do, we'll do.
Who's been burning fuel at the quickest rate?
I bet the Ferrari will win this short battle.
To Brian Till.
Will it be a time
Andy
stop?
Lally to the stop. He wanted to know what everybody else up and down pit lane had done. He wanted to know what the 63 did. Right now, the 61 down the way, it's going to be tires for the 44. You'd expect that. And you remember, Dorsey said it may take longer to get the fuel in this Porsche. Let's go down to Darren with the Ferrari.
The Ferrari is not taking tires at all. They're only going to fuel it and get out of here. So they haven't done anything other than gas up. They're waiting to go. They're off.
Well, they're going to beat the Porsche out, but they don't have any fresh skins. No Carney's on there, so I think when you needed that much fuel, I'd go with tires, Dorsey. I mean, you're only losing a couple of seconds there.
I was surprised at that, too, particularly since the Porsche stopped first. They could have looked up the way and saw he was getting tires. I think I would want my tires at that point.
High fives all around in the Ferrari pit.
It didn't look like it was a timed stop either. It looked like they were going for a full load, or very close to it.
Well, let's see if Lally can eat him up with fresh Continentals all around. Another break coming up. We'll be back with more. Less than 35 minutes remaining at the Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen. Stand by. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Watkins Glen International. Now barely 31 minutes remaining in the Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen. There's Brendan Hartley in the race leading Starworks Ford Riley with a 17-second gap over second place Christian Fittipaldi.
His problem is, Bob, he's gone 21 laps on this tank of fuel, and they've been doing 27, 28 has been the range, and we've got 30 minutes to go. So unless we get a red flag.
Yeah, it doesn't add up, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't work.
So that guy's in a pretty good position, is Christian Fittipaldi. 43 years ago, his uncle Emerson scored his first career Formula One victory in the Grand Prix of the United States here at Watkins Glen. Wouldn't it be something if Christian comes through and picks up a victory here today?
Talked with Christian earlier in the week about this team and this car, and he thinks that things have really gelled now, and if they didn't have their bad luck at the beginning of the year, they'd be sitting really pretty on points. I mean, he says, I think we're in a position now where we can really be contenders.
They're coming back strong, particularly when you think a lot of the leaders in the championship had problems here today, the 10 and the 99. So this is going to be a big day for them if they can hang on for the victory with those other teams having issues. We just saw the 01 as well have a penalty, so it could be a huge boost for them.
To Darren Law.
Well, I came over to the AIM Ferrari team and asked them why they wouldn't put on tires. They had enough time. They said to me that the track position was a lot more important. When they run behind the Porsche, they lose a lot of front grip. They understeer. They actually just cannot compete. So they wanted the track position. They feel like the tires don't fall off. They're better on tires than the Porsche, so they're hoping that keeps them up in front of them.
Well, if you're aero tight here, it's not good, Calvin. As you know, there's no real slow area on this. Ooh, little slip right there by the Ferrari. No slow area on this racetrack. Turn one's one of the slowest, and it's around 75, 80 mile an hour there. But the rest of the places, you're really going quickly.
And Lee Keen is running lap times about half a second quicker than Lally, who's on the fresh rubber. So certainly right now, still got 20 minutes to go. They could go off a little bit further as this race runs out. But right now, it's working for them. The problem is, whilst those guys are on pit lane, Robin Liddell swept around them for track position. He's now running second. And Billy Johnson leads, but he's probably going to need fuel, as Billy Orville and his teammates suggested just a few minutes ago.
It's going to come down to the fuel situation for sure. We said at the beginning of the show it was one of our race things. Don't be foolish.
There's Westy. That was for position, for 9th position on Scott Pruitt. Westbrook has been absolutely flying in that 90 machine, trying to rebound from that off that Ricky Taylor had in the wet conditions on slick tires.
Let's say Billy Johnson there in the GT class leading car is marginal on fuel. He's got a 35-second lead. Can he back out of the throttle a bit? Can he save enough fuel to save himself a late splash?
I think he's a bit too far out. He really needs a yellow. I think a yellow could do it for him, Bob, plus a little bit of fuel saving. But I think if it stays green, even if he tries to roll out of the throttle, going down these straightaways into the brake zones, Dorsey, I don't think he's going to save enough.
Be a far stretch.
Yeah.
Let's get down to the 5 pit with Brian.
Joao Barbosa standing here. He's handed the car back to Christian Fittipaldi to take it to the checkered. The enthusiasm on this team seems to be way, way high after the victory at Mid-Ohio. What kind of car did you give Christian to go to the checkered with?
We have a great car. The team has been working incredible. We have such a reliable car that we can push all the way through, and the car is fast enough to hold the lead so far. Still a long way to go, but it's looking good so far. It seems like if everything finishes as it is right now, it's going to be a great points day for Action Express.
Well, I know that you had a little bit of incident with Stefan Sarrazin out on the racetrack. Darren Law, your past teammate, said you're one of the calmest people he knows. It didn't sound that way on the radio that I was listening to. What did you have to do to remain calm in the car and stay focused?
I mean, I just have to stay focused. It's a long race. It was still a long time to go. I have a lot of respect for Sarrazin. Hopefully, I'm not going to lose it today. I mean, I'll give him a chance. I mean, we just were able to fight back from that incident and get back on the lead, thanks to these guys. And I mean, so far everything is working great.
But with just under 28 minutes to go, guys, I'm looking across the way. The sky's getting dark again. We may get rain before the end of this thing.
Oh, man.
Wow. It's going to be very close, I can tell you that. And this next round is going to be a lot bigger than that last one we had.
Look at this. Negri is on the charge. You know, we think that Hartley, who's running out front now in the 8 Starworks machine, he's got 24 laps on the board. He's going to need fuel, so we think this could be a battle for the lead. So what a story that would be if Negri can chase down Christian Fittipaldi. That's the gap between second and third right there, but that could be the battle for the lead shortly.
Look at the lap time. Beats him by 0.7 of a second. That's a good number he just threw down.
All that pent-up desire after all the time out of the car.
Ford with not a win on the books this year. Boy, that would be a big day for them.
Well, they felt this next round of the championships may give them a chance. We run here, we go to Indianapolis, big long straightaway there.
Elkhart Lake, another big straightaway.
Then Kansas, that's supposed to be really quick. I haven't visited the track yet, but the guys who tested there said it's incredibly quick.
Let's get more on the fuel situation in the GT leading 94 BMW. Darren?
Well, I just spoke with Bill Oberlin, asked if he could make it on fuel. He said, no way, no how can they make it. So their strategy right now is to push as hard as they can to try and build a big enough a gap between them and the Ferrari so they can come in and fuel up and hopefully get out before the Ferrari comes by. Otherwise, the only hope they've got is maybe a yellow or some rain to try and save fuel, because they will not make it.
Well, they've got a 34-second lead right now, Darren, and it's 28 seconds as the loss down pit lane, so they could put 6 seconds of fuel in right now and maintain the lead. It really depends how long that fuel hose has to be connected.
There's the second place car, the Stevenson Camaro, Robin Liddell, 34 seconds behind. Less than 25 minutes remaining.
When we talk about pit lane delta, we're talking about the time spent running down pit lane at 45 miles an hour. That's the time loss if you're out on the racetrack running flat out.
Add to that the time the car is stationary, and you get the total pit delta. And up and down the pit lane, you can be sure that engineers are crunching those numbers right now. Growing darker by the minute at Watkins Glen. Will we see more raindrops before the event is over? We've got 25 minutes to find out. We'll be back live here on Speed. Welcome back live to this meeting of the Speed Amateur Meteorological Association as we watch the skies and watch the clock here at Watkins Glen.
Oh, boy.
Got our own Larry Sprinkle down in pit lane, Brian Tilley, he's with the 90 car.
Yeah, fuel only. Remember, we only have probably a little over 20 minutes to go, so it's going to be a timed stop. They're either going to tap this guy or tell him on the radio, and they're back underway, but they've lost some track position.
Yeah, and this is going to be a really frustrating race again for this team because they've had so much speed. Westy's been absolutely flying here in the last hour or so, and just lost that lap with the car parked off the racetrack in the wet grass.
Michael Shank car runs third. Let's get more on their situation with Darren.
Mike Shank, you've got 2 cars in the top 3 right now. The 60 car is running quick. Is he good on fuel? And the 6 car, how are they doing? Are they good on fuel?
The Dunn tire car is good to go. They're just an awesome day. Had a lot of setbacks early on. Both cars have had little problems that just put us back. We gambled on the 6. We need a yellow now, or we're going to have to pit and take what we get out of that. I'm super proud of everybody involved there.
All right, they, like they said, man, they can make it with one car and not the other with a little help.
Yeah, I think Negri's going to be good to go, of course, and he's got to try and chase down Christian Fittipaldi for the potential win. Hartley's going to be run out of fuel here in the next 3 or 4 laps at the most. And then Wilson, who currently runs 4th, that would elevate him to 3rd, but he's going to need a splash of fuel as well. So Valiente and company may be elevated to the podium here by the end.
These guys wanting a caution, some of them really badly.
Yep.
But I tell you what, the track's dry. I think that rain's going to hold off before this checker comes.
Less than 19 minutes to go, and we're going to stay with it all the way to the checkered flag, live here on Speed. Brendan Hartley with a pit stop at his future leads, then Christian Fittipaldi and Oz Negri in what could be the battle for the win. And then Justin Wilson. So 2 Michael Shank cars running 3rd and 4th. Then Michael Valiente in the 8-star number 3.
So many reasons that, you know, we would want to see that 60 car win this race. You know, Oz coming back off his injury. Oh, and we have a crash here, and it was Oz. He's been off and into the wall. I don't know.
He's right around the 5 car. Somehow they got really close to him. There was more of a gap than that, and something may have happened in traffic, and Oz was right there on the attack with Fittipaldi.
He's got a radiator full of grass right now.
Yes, he does.
I don't know if he banged off the guardrail. See what happens here. I just looked up and it happened.
Here's the 5 car coming. Oh, Fittipaldi runs wide. Here comes Negri. He has to take evasive action. Oh, my goodness.
So he didn't hit the wall, but he's got a radiator full of grass.
Yep. What a bad break. I mean, Christian made a little mistake there, tried to gather it back up. Oz had nowhere to go, and now he's got a radiator packed with grass. We know he made an earlier pit stop, Bob, with a very similar situation in the first hour or so of this race.
Yeah, the temperature skyrocketed within a lap or so of covering up that radiator inlet.
Can you believe it?
Shouldn't have been talking good about him.
If he was a second or 2 further back, he'd have the lead of this race.
Radiator clean.
That's exactly right.
I believe they just called him in to have the screen cleaned.
Can you believe that bad
No,
break?
I cannot.
Oh,
Mike
come
Shank.
on, caution, come out now.
Mike Shank Racing, they deserve a break here. They've had such a rough road these last few weekends.
I was just getting into that story when this happened. Like I
An
said,
over hard brake, Oz. Over hard brake.
it's a good idea.
Yeah, no, it's going to work. The grass is wet. It's just glued to that screen. They're trying everything. They're saying if he hits the brake, maybe the grass will come out.
Can he try the NASCAR trick of get close behind another car and see if the burble of air will clean it?
I think Calvin's right about the fact that the grass is wet and it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. There is Mike Shank.
Now, if you believe some of Dorsey's Trans Am stories, he said, oh, I'll just get on the rear bump of the other car and just clean that thing off.
Rub it off.
Yeah.
94 time stop from the lead in GT.
Yep. It's going to elevate Rob Nadell to the lead. Maybe their 4th win in 5.
Now we have an incident
This is
on
too long a
track.
stop. This is too long a stop. They don't need that much fuel.
Here comes the 57 Camaro.
Yeah, that's the lead.
Here comes Oz in.
There's Keane right there in our picture there, just screen right.
I think this is going to be the
I
worst
do
time.
not understand why that fuel hose was connected that long. There's only 15, 16 minutes left on the board. 60 cars in, Darren's there.
Guys, this is such a heartbreaker. I mean, this thing is so packed with grass. There's no way. No way he could run more than another lap or two without that thing overheating. It's too bad.
Now you saw somebody lean in and throw a bucket of water into the radiator exhaust.
That is just a punch in the guts.
It's horrible. I mean, that car was about to win the race, I think.
Yep. And the irony is that the 5 car that created the situation that took the 60 off track is likely to go on and win it now, depending on what Brendan Hartley and the Starworks team do with the 8.
Here's the 5 car. They lead, and the car right behind them is our GT leader right now, the 57 car. Before Negri hit pit lane, look at this replay.
Look out the bottom of the car in the back. You see the fluid coming out the overflow tube. He's already overheating the engine. It's spitting all the excess out the back.
Had no option but to
No
pit.
option. I was hoping for a yellow. That would have been the only thing that would have saved him. Didn't happen. Almost happened.
Christian caught a big break there, boys. He kept it together, got in there a little bit too deep into the heel of the boot, gathered it up, nearly lost it, and then Negri had nowhere to go.
You know, I said that he needed a caution, and it almost happened. You know why it almost happened? Because right when he was headed for pit lane, watch this Audi.
That's the incident I was talking about. I thought maybe we might see our 6th full course caution.
Yep, that yellow there would have gotten out of harm's way, but it didn't work.
Dion von Moltke was able to drive it away. The 6 is in. Darren.
Yeah, these guys just cannot catch a break. Oz getting the grass on the radiator. These guys needing a splash of fuel. They're just dumping enough in to get to the end, but it's going to take them out of contention for sure. It's too bad.
Justin Wilson behind the wheel. It's been a strong run for this car today.
Yep.
Ackerman did a good job keeping his nose clean.
The whole team did a great job today, and they deserve better than what they're going to get.
Hartley, we talk about, you can't make fuel, you got to save it. Well, I think he's making some right now. Because,
Really?
He's got 31 laps on the board.
They have a special device to ring the fuel bladder.
Well, if he could just run the downhill sections and forget about the uphills, he'd be okay, wouldn't he?
Remember, some of those were caution laps, so that's going to extend this number of laps that he's going to run without needing fuel, but I don't think he's going to make 13 more minutes.
He's up to 31 laps.
I remember being in this situation and running out of fuel, not knowing you're going to make it. And the worst thing,
The pit lane line.
worst thing is, if to get back to pit lane, you got to go uphill.
Did they say rain
He's
in the pit
in.
lane?
He's in.
No, he's coming in.
Okay, this is going to hand the lead to Christian Fittipaldi. Valiente runs about 6 seconds behind Fittipaldi right now. He'll assume 2nd spot with this pit stop by Hartley. So there's Christian. This is going to be the lead of the motor race.
Time stop, clean the grill up.
That should be enough, boys. Pull it, pull it.
Yeah, you don't have far to go. 12 minutes.
One, pull, go.
Off he goes. And off goes Christian Fittipaldi in the 5 to take over the race lead. Here comes Michael Valiente. You just saw that orange number 3. He will take over 2nd place.
4.9 seconds behind Christian Fittipaldi. His last lap was just over a second faster. Some of that may be traffic, of course, so traffic could be a big factor here.
Yeah, and it's up there, too. There's traffic all around right now.
Both these guys should be good on fuel.
Brian Till with more on the Turner Motorsports number 94.
Well, Calvin and Dorsey, I agreed with you. I stood here in the pit lane and watched the 94 with that, quote, splash, and it took a long time to get it done. So I checked in with Don Salama. He said, we just have been getting horrible fuel mileage. It was going to take a lot to get to the end. We put in what we needed. Darren?
Mike Shank, you guys have had a couple tough breaks here at the end, but your team has run great. You've been up front. I mean, you showed well this weekend.
I'm just done with June, man. June needs to be over, but I'm so happy with the people that have been involved in my program, mainly the guys, the drivers, the new sponsors we have on board. just please, can we go to Indianapolis, have a good race? Thank you.
All right, these guys are looking for just a little luck. They've got the cars to do it.
That off by Osnegri, I just can't even believe my eyes in seeing that, Dorsey. I mean, to be so close to the lead, closing in on the leader has a moment. You run off into the grass and you got to make an extra pit stop.
Oz had nowhere to go. He couldn't do a darn thing about what the situation was.
We talked about Michael Shank before, the ultimate up by his own bootstraps story in racing. Worked on his own cars as a driver, then established his own team, a survivor. And now, just when things seem to be going his way, winners of the Rolex 24 at Daytona a year ago.
Second mortgaged his house. I mean, put everything he has and more online.
If you're looking to sponsor a sports car, go talk to Michael Shank.
Boy, the guy deserves a break. I mean, he does a good job. He had both cars, Calvin, in position. And I think really Oz was going to win this race, the way it looked to me.
Yeah, it really did. And I tell you what, Brendan Hartley, even with that pit stop, he's still running in third spot. So this would be a huge day for that team to get a podium run. Starworks currently run third and fourth. Valiente continues to close down on Christian Fittipaldi for the lead. He took 0.8 of a second out of him on that last lap. It's now 4.1 seconds the lead that Fittipaldi had.
10 minutes ago, that's a doable situation if he can keep it up.
Remember, these guys are double stinting, not double stinting, but doing a stint and a half on their tires. They just topped those guys up and didn't take tires last go around. So we saw Christian have a little bobble, sort of grip level as he got here for the last 10 minutes.
Just like that, less than 10 minutes to go in the race.
When he can see him, and that's a big incentive too. You hear the number over the radio, but when you can see him that close.
That's a huge incentive. Once you make eye contact, you can get missile lock on then.
Missile lock. I've got tone.
I got tone, baby.
Fox 1.
That's it.
He's coming. He looks closer than 4 seconds to me. We'll have to wait and see for the stripe. Christian's got to dig deep. Got to push hard. Cam Barbosa and Action Express get their second victory in a row here in the 6 hour. Fittipaldi responds with a 43.8. That is a really good lap time. Michael a 43.5, so it was only 0.3. It's now the lead is now 3.8 seconds. 9 minutes to go.
Look for a second like that corner worker was waving the move over flag to Valiente. Not a chance. Actually, I think it was for Max Angelelli ahead of him.
Max.
Main's a lap down.
Max will not move over, I can tell you that already. It's just not his character to get out of the way.
Valiente's going to have to get about 5 or 6 a lap, I think, out of Fittipaldi to be on him on that last lap, so he may need a little bit of help with traffic as well.
I'd be down there at the 10 right now, bartering, you know, just come on, let us by. We got a shot at this. Don't hold us up.
10 team's done a brilliant job.
Yep, coming back from that early shift linkage issue that put them 5 laps down.
Yeah, the car was capable, that's for sure.
Going to be a big shake-up in the points, though, tonight.
Oh, boy.
He's a tough man on the racetrack, that Max Angelelli. Even if he's laps down, he will not want to give up position.
And Scott Pruitt, who looked like he's going to have at least a podium finish, maybe a win here today, currently sits in 9th.
Almost a full minute down to the leader.
Stop and hold.
That'd be another.
The 30 killed him.
Terrible finish for that car.
I understand in the wake of that Ganassi incident in the pit lane that there was confusion as to whether the crew said hold or go. Scott heard one thing. They say they told him something else. There's your GT leader, the 57. Robin Liddell and John Edwards looking for their 4th victory of the year.
Trying to do a repeat here. They won last year.
That's right, defending champions in GT.
And they had a strong run going at Mid-Ohio for the bump on pit lane. Otherwise, they could have been looking at 5 straight after starting the season with 2 15th place points finishes.
Aboard the 2nd place GT car, Lee Keen in the Ferrari.
I think we're going to dodge the bullet on the rain. Now it's just down to getting to that checker.
Great job by Lee Keen. Really is, he went from being a Pro-Am driver to one of the best in the business. Really learned a lot when he shared the car with Dirk Werner a few years back, and has really become just a stellar GT driver worldwide.
Boy, he's done a lot since then. It wasn't that far back either when he was just coming on the scene. He's done such a huge amount of racing. Good job.
Just changed his whole attitude. He used to like to play a little bit too much. I mean, just a good guy, and went racing for a bit of fun, and then he realized, you know what? I'm really good at this. If I have a little bit more discipline, I can go to the top, and he's doing it.
Yep. Reputations are so difficult to change. Looks like Lee is able to do that. And if you want that and more tips about how to start a career as a pro driver, remember safeisfast.com. Check it out. Now available in dozens of languages if you're more comfortable in something other than English.
Traffic.
Just what I was thinking.
Fittipaldi's done a nice job here. Seems to be hitting his marks well. That 10 car as fast as you can see.
Max is catching him, actually.
Yeah, he's definitely catching him.
You know, that would be good.
6 on the last lap for Angelelli.
If Max could get around him, that'd be all the better as far as
Valiente's
free.
concerned.
Yeah, Valiente.
Fittipaldi ran a 43.9. Michael got traffic of 45.4, so the lap, the cushion has been extended to 4.2 seconds.
Yeah, the previous lap it was about 2.5 seconds, and I wondered why we couldn't see Valiente in the picture. He must have been balked.
Yeah, there's just areas of this racetrack you're going to lose a huge chunk, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't drive over the top of someone, and the guy you're trying to get around can't disappear. You just have to wait. Will Fittipaldi get a clear run here in the last 5 minutes of this race to the checkered flag, or will he have similar problems?
Boy, Max can play heavily into this situation. I mean, he's running a little bit faster right now than Christian.
But he is 1 lap down.
He's a lap down, and
got back on the lead lap at one point, and then the fuel strategies played out to get them back down a lap. So still a good recovery drive, but it's not going to mean a lot in terms of a points change at the end of the day.
You know, this close, 4 minutes, if I'm Christian, I'd let him go. I really would, because I don't want to mess with him. I don't want him messing with me.
Another great day for this team, coming off a second place run at Mid-Ohio. Right now they run second. They haven't given up yet on the win, but they are going places. A little bit of traffic here. This will cost him.
Oh, slip and slide.
I'm with you, Dorsey. I think I'd let the 10 get by.
Yeah, I just want to run clean laps now to the end. I can keep my eye on the 3 behind me, but I don't want Max being all over, breathing down my neck. It's forcing me to distract my attention from what I should be doing.
Especially when you're dealing with GT traffic.
Yeah, I just want to be in my own element. Let him go.
Michael needs to clear this GT traffic down the straightaway, which he will, so that should close the gap a little bit. Fittipaldi at 44.5.
Portalicchio and Sarazen watching from the pit box.
Valiente at 43.6, so he takes nearly a second out of that lead. Is now down to 3.3 seconds.
And it's down to 3 minutes and 45 seconds remaining in the race.
And Christian either responded pretty well there, or Angelelli had a problem and he's backed away. He's no longer up underneath the tailpipe of the 5. Look.
Yep.
Maybe Simon Hodgson made the call to Max Angelelli, just saying there's not enough time, Max. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think that's what happened, because, I mean, he just dropped off the pace.
The time may come where we need them to do something for us. Gary Nelson on the left.
Elton Sawyer on the right. The brain trust behind the Action Express group. They've really shook things up over the last year or so. Got their driver pairings to start the year, said this is still not working, weren't afraid to make a change. Christian Fittipaldi and Barbosa are actually split in points, so they continue to charge up the championship table. It's going to be Fittipaldi in front of Barbosa for the rest of the year, as long as they stay teamed together. They didn't share the car together at the beginning of the year. They're on a different points total right now.
Get one more time around, I think, guys.
Here comes Valiente. He's pushing hard. He could get this plus maybe 2 more doors. It's going to be interesting to see. I think they're going to get 2 more. This may be a big help for Valiente, because you'd need to be like at about 1:40 to get that white flag. They're not going to see that. So this is a big help for Valiente if he can clear this traffic.
Yeah, and I want to see what happens when Valiente catches up with Max. You know, is Max going to be gentleman and let him go, or is he going to stay?
Christian, 2 more laps.
2 more laps. You heard the call to Christian Fittipaldi. This helps Valiente, who has cleared that GT traffic. Okay, what can he do? He's deep on the brakes there. You see the car dancing around. Enzo and Stefan watch. They're watching the clock.
Now it's just Max in the way. That's it.
Valiente digging deep, looking for a victory.
White flag next time by.
Where is the traffic? Will it play a factor here over the last lap and a half?
Looking good right now, but Valiente is really running the brake zones hard. Look at that.
The gap was 2 seconds as they crossed the stripe last time by. Valiente ran a 43.3, Fittipaldi a 44.6. It is coming down.
I believe it is.
It is coming down. How much grip is left in these tires? Remember, there's a lot of laps on these tires. They didn't take tires last go around, so Fittipaldi is digging deep.
Little wiggle out of Christian right there as he headed down the hill. You can tell he's on the edge.
Oh, we can see him. He is coming. He is coming hard. Tell you, one GT car is going to really grip it, and you can see GT cars up ahead. Will Christian hit that traffic?
And now Max has closed back up too.
Yes, he has. These guys are going to be very close together as they take the white flag.
Oh, this is going to be critical. Where does Christian clear this 18 car? Does he lose time, or does it cost Valiente? He's going to clear him. He's going to clear him. Where does Valiente get this GT car?
Just far enough back right now. Now you got Max in the way too. You got to deal with.
Yeah, you've got 2 cars to get around.
Oh, that's tight. Problem is there, the 18 car will probably see the 10 and doesn't think about another car coming too.
10 moves over.
White flag, Christian, white flag.
Good job, Max.
Angelelli out of the way. Brian Till.
Yeah, Simon Hodgson had just said to Max as they came through those last 2 corners, get out of the fight. Do not get in the middle of this. Let them go. And you just saw it right there on the screen. Great job by Angelelli to let this battle play out to the end.
1.4 seconds is the lead across the stripe.
I'm glad to see that. That's really good stuff.
All Corvette teams, remember. Pressure is on. Can he keep it clean? There's more traffic up ahead. They're going to have to clear some more traffic to finish this lap.
A mistake by either of them and it'll be over. It doesn't make a difference which one makes the error.
Valiente's done a lot of seat time here today. Stefan did a great. Enzo started the race, of course, put about 20 minutes in. Stefan's did a great double stint.
They're going to catch this traffic at a tricky place too.
Oh, look who's up ahead, the number 4 car. Valiente's teammates.
Yeah.
They're digging deep. It is getting closer. It is getting really close here.
Just a handful
under
of
a
laps,
second.
Handful of corners remaining.
Boy, and it's tough to pass up here. This being the best place left right
the
here.
The 4-line R8 right there. Can Christian clear him without having to crack the throttle? Will he see him? He does. He's going to clear him. Can Valiente get around the outside?
He does.
He's going for it last time, though.
Yeah, he slipped
a
wide.
little bit.
I was about to call him 2 great young drivers because I've been watching and calling Christian Fittipaldi's races since he was in Formula 1 way back when, and then Champ Car.
Look how close this is.
Right to the line it will go. Fittipaldi, Valiente, Action Express, number 5, goes 2 for 2 at Watkins Glen.
Well done, boys.
What a race. What a fantastic motor race.
Second straight race victory here at the Glen for João Barbosa. First for Fittipaldi.
Wow, that was close. Great performance by 8-star as well. That was really, really tight. 0.2 of a second as they crossed the line.
Tell me Michael Valiente shouldn't be in a ride full time, and that kid can pedal.
Absolutely. There's the leader in GT, Robin Liddell, bringing around the Stevenson Camaro he shares with John Edwards. This will be the 22nd career class win for Liddell.
2 in a row here at this racetrack for Stevenson Motorsports.
That's right. 3rd win at Watkins Glen for Liddell. 2nd straight for his teammate John Edwards. 4th win of the season, most importantly, for the Stevenson duo.
I'll tell you what, it's really going to close the points up again at the end of the day. It's going to be within a handful, I think, that they're going to close into Potter and Lally.
Final 2 corners coming up.
There's your 2nd place car just back behind him there. Lee Keen in the Ferrari.
Seem to have control of this one, Bob.
I would say so. Robin Liddell faces the checkered flag. Victory for Stevenson Motorsports. There's John Edwards on the right.
They've been on a roll. If it wasn't that bump in pit lane at Mid-Ohio, it could have been 5 straight. That is amazing with the level of competition in the GT category.
Robin Liddell goes behind the curve down in turn 1 in celebration. Time for our Royal Purple outperformer of the race. And we're going to give it to the number 60 machine from Michael Shank Racing, who put up such a great fight. Despite several.
Got put off twice.
Put off twice. Came back and finished 4th with a legitimate shot at the win, if not for that off. No one's fault, racing luck. Congratulations to them, our Royal Purple outperformer of the race. Time for the celebrations. Here at the Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen, we'll take a break and return to an increasingly dark and overcast Watkins Glen International. Well, it was a 6-hour battle to the wire. Let's get down to victory lane and hear from our overall winners with Brian Till.
Christian Fittipaldi getting his hat sorted out so he can get out of the car. Spectacular stuff. This team becomes the first back-to-back winners this season, and the Fittipaldi name returns to victory lane at Watkins Glen International. I think he's a bit exhausted. A big hug for his teammate Joao Barbosa, and he's going to go over here and celebrate for the fans, and a kiss for the number 5. Christian, spectacular stuff, and I know it was a hard battle to the end, but probably about 15 minutes or so from the end, there's a slip up at the heel of the boot, and it almost cost you the race. What was going through your mind at that point in time?
I don't know. I was on the limit all the time.
Hard race, man.
I take a rest. Well,
hard race. He's going to take a rest and sit down. Exhausting work. And for Joao Barbosa to sit there and watch. We talk about chemistry on race teams, and ever since the two of you got placed in the car together, everything seems to have come good. The performance has been there. A little problem in pit lane at Road Atlanta, but after that, smooth sailing for you guys. The chemistry, it's something that's hard to find, isn't it?
I mean, it's working, isn't it? I mean, it's like they say, we are in it to win it, you know, like this was a great points day for us. We led at 3-hour mark. We led at 6 hours. We won the race overall. It's looking great for us in the points now. I think we made a great leap. This Action Express, man, the chemistry that's going on, it's unbelievable. The car is running excellent. Christian did a fantastic job. He's a little worn out, but he'll get over it. And I mean, what can I say? This group of guys have done a tremendous job, and the Corvette drove awesome today.
Yeah, these guys definitely gave it their all.
like only João talks. I don't know how to speak English anymore. Like, I can speak Portuguese. You want to do the interview in Portuguese?
Congratulations, guys.
Actually, Portuguese is one of Brian's many specialties. Here's a look at the Daytona prototype. Look at these championship standings.
Wow, there's a tie at the top with D. Allen Popov, Taylor and Angelelli, but look at Christian Fittipaldi. He has leapt up the charts there. Came in this race 18 points behind, now within 4. Unbelievable.
Well, the GT guys, you know, they're not any slouches either. They put on a good show. John Potter and Andy Lally right now. 6 points separates them. John Edwards and Robin Liddell, who won this race. Alessandro Balzan and the Ferrari guys coming up right behind them. It's going to be tight going the second half of the season.
We came into this day thinking the points couldn't get any tighter, and they have. A 4-way tie atop Daytona prototype. Back down to victory lane now, and Justin Bell.
Yeah, well-deserved, amazing win for the Stevenson 57 Camaro. John, you had to sit there and watch Robin work so hard in that last hour. But as I overheard you, it was tough all the way through.
Oh, it was really tough, especially with the changing conditions. But I've always said I prefer to be in the car at the end because sitting on the pit stand, just getting a nervous twitch going on with my leg, that's the worst part of the race for me. So when I got out of the car, that was the most nervous part of the race for me. But ultimately, the car was good in the dry, and we were hoping it wouldn't rain because those conditions are really tough, and you're liable to throw it off even if as good a driver as anyone can be.
And, of course, Robin, one mistake out there in the quality and caliber of this field, you're done for. So the pressure's on the whole way through, isn't it?
Yeah, I kept forcing myself just to stay focused. That's a dangerous kind of gap to have, 4 seconds or so. And I was fully expecting some rain. We obviously saw some dark clouds coming back, expecting rain or a safety car or something. So I was just trying to stay focused on the job in hand and reel off the laps. But just want to say thanks to everybody here. The Camaro's been fantastic. John did a great job. But more than anything, I think it's probably, I've been with this team for 6 years. It's probably the best team result I've ever seen for us. Everybody contributed in such an important part. It really was a proper team effort throughout the whole weekend. So really, really happy for the guys. It was brilliant.
Congratulations to the whole Stevenson team. Darren?
All right, guys. Tristan Nunez, you guys, I know how hard this race is as drivers. This is a tough one to get through, but it's really hard on the cars. And to bring the Sky Active Mazda here into victory lane has got to be a great feeling.
Yeah, it was good to show that the new Mazda 6 can go the distance. And yeah, we had a little drama with the rain, but a little Florida sunshine. We brought that to the table, so that was good for us.
All right, guys, any comments?
Darren, this year was one heck of a last hour. It was a very long one. I could see the time. Big thanks to Visit Florida. I got to thank the Lord for putting me here. We had Taradas on here with us this weekend on the 6 hour. Brought his knowledge. It was great. Great day for Mazda.
All right, guys, congrats. Back to the booth.
4 indeed for Mazda and their GX program. Plenty more to come in the post-race celebrations here from Watkins Glen International. I think it's fair to say Christian Fittipaldi overwhelmed by his day. We'll be back. Welcome back to Watkins Glen International. Doesn't matter if it rains now, the Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen is in the books. Let's get back down to Victory Lane now, and Brian Till.
Stefan Sarrazin, Michael Valiente had a great drive in the 8-star Corvette, and I just told Stefan, I said, you got to stop finishing second because you finished second at Le Mans last week. And Michael, for you, how much would you have paid for one more lap?
All my winnings from today. Yeah, it was Stefan. You know, it's great to be paired with him. We hit it off right away. He's a fantastic driver, so I'm really happy to be with the team and him. And you know, everything went to plan. We had a few hiccups, but I mean, we were so close in the end.
Yeah, they showed what this team is made of, and do not be surprised to see them standing on the top step of the podium before the end of the season.
No doubt about it, Brian. Now let's take a look at the points in the North American Endurance Championship presented by VisitFlorida.com. Action Express came in with an 8-point lead. It is now down to 4. Stevenson Boys had a 6 points lead. It is now down to 2. BGB Motorsports leads in GX. Pretty eventful day, Calvin.
Well, we saw a little bit of everything, but my heart goes out to Mike Shank Racing. They had 2 really fast race cars today and didn't get the results that they deserved.
Who would have thought halfway through the season that we would be tied for the championship lead? Unbelievable.
It's all going down at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, so be sure to join us then, Sunday, July 26th, 7:30 Eastern, here on Speed. Thank you for joining us for the Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen here on Speed. I'm Bob Varsha for Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Brian Till, Justin Bell, and Darren Law. We'll see you at Indy. And until then, so long from Watkins Glen International.